Reborn for the third time, Xing Xiaoxi still died at the age of 28, unwilling to accept it. I started over again. We met, fell in love as usual, then sudden changes occurred. He began using his poor mental state as an excuse to frequently visit his psychologist, until the day I caught them kissing in the consultation room, when Xing Xiaoxi scoffed and said, "You might think I'm crazy if I say this, but I've actually died 3 times, each time right next to Xiaoran. I originally wanted to see how she'd save me, but now I realize she must be bad luck." I stayed far away, and look, I'm perfectly fine now. I quietly retreated. In this 4th life, whether he lives or dies has nothing to do with me. I'm going to live my own life now. I can't describe how I felt when I heard those remarks. Xing Xiaoxi bent down and buried his face in Feng Qinshuang's neck, lifting her long hair to take a gentle sniff. Feng Qinshuang was his psychologist. Xing Xiaoxi has been mentioning lately that he feels mentally confused and needs to see a doctor. I didn't expect it to be this kind of perspective. The intimate sight of the two was utterly blinding. The grief and fury of betrayal instantly consumed all my rationality. I could hardly restrain myself from rushing in to confront him, demanding why he would do such a thing. Through 3 lifetimes of rebirth, Xing Xiaoxi's heart has always remained devoted to me. I firmly believed this. Yet the reality of the 4th life dealt me a heavy blow, leaving me in disbelief and wondering if I had misunderstood something. Then Xing Xiaoxi, whom I considered the most loving, devoted, and loyal person in my heart, spoke up. With a sidelong glance, he playfully twirled the long hair of Feng Qinshuang sitting on his lap, let out a light scoff, and said, "Dr. Feng, tell me, do I really have something wrong with my brain? But I feel the first 3 deaths didn't seem fake. The pain still gives me lingering fear when I think about it now." Feng Qinshuang covered her chest, putting on an exaggerated show of concern as she said, "Then what should we do? You won't die again this time, will you?" Xing Xiaoxi curled his lips into a smile. How could it be? I've accompanied Xiaoran through lifetimes, only to die by her side every single time. I originally wanted to see how she'd save me, but now I realize she must be bad luck. Staying far away from her is why I'm alive and well now. In this lifetime, I have you, Dr. Xiaoshuang. The upward lilt in his tone made Feng Qin's face flush red as she coquettishly retorted, "Then you've come to the right person, Dr. Feng will treat you for life." At that moment, the laughter of the man and woman inside the door sounded muffled, reaching my ears somewhat distorted. Xing Xiaoxi's words kept replaying and amplifying in my ears, making my heart constrict and a suffocating sensation surge over me. I leaned against the wall, gasping for breath in great heaves. I can no longer recall how I got home that day, only remembering the moment I collapsed onto the sofa, as if all strength had drained from my body, like a spine being pulled out. I went completely limp. This is not an exaggeration in the slightest. What kept me restarting again and again was this obsession with saving 28-year-old Xing Xiaoxi. He died in our most loving moment during his 1st life. We had just gotten our marriage certificate, and he was driving me on a self-guided tour. In the car, I was still admiring the ring, saying I wanted to design a matching pair of earrings. Before his okay could even land, an out-of-control truck on the highway crashed into us with a bang. In that moment, time seemed to slow down. My pupils, dilated with horror, clearly reflected him lunging toward me, shielding me with half his body. In the end, I saw his eyes, unwilling to close, stained with blood, filled with love and pain. I screamed hoarsely, crying uncontrollably in disbelief. My mind was consumed by a single thought: no, Xing Xiaoxi can't die. We still have so much left undone. I want to start over. I want to save him. Suddenly, it felt like another voice emerged in my mind asking, "Are you sure? Sure about abandoning your future? Going back to possibly fail again, repeating the cycle over and over?" I said yes. So I gave it my all for 1 lifetime, 2 lifetimes, then this lifetime tells me he knew everything all along. He just watched me, wretched and humble, begging him to stay alive. He even said it was my bad luck, that I was the one who caused his death. When Xing Xiaoxi returned, the night was already deep. I was still sitting blankly on the sofa, retracing where it all went wrong, wondering when exactly his heart had changed. "Why aren't the lights on? What are you sitting there spacing out for?" His tone was as gentle as ever, sitting beside me and naturally reaching to wrap an arm around my waist, so normal it was, as if what I'd seen earlier was just a dream. I dodged out of reflex. The atmosphere grew somewhat stiff. A trace of indifference flashed in Xing Xiaoxi's eyes, clearly having noticed my unusual behavior, but as if weary, he didn't inquire further. "I'm going to bed first. You should rest early too. That night I slept poorly, though Xing Xiaoxi lay beside me. My mind kept replaying scenes of his death. In his first life, he died instantly in a car accident, blood seeping from his body and soaking through my shirt. In our second life, we got married, we didn't go on a honeymoon, so that car accident never happened. Then the accident came in the most absurd way. He came to pick me up after work when suddenly an advertising board crashed down from above. It struck him squarely and impartially. I watched helplessly as the tall man was crushed without a trace. As if heaven had decreed his death, I refused to believe it, so we came to the third life. In this life, I quit my job and got married, following him almost everywhere, afraid that he might have an accident if I let him out of my sight. Thus, we made it safely to his 28th year. On his birthday, the candlelight illuminated his sparkling eyes, and in the glow, he confessed to me with moistened eyes, Ran, it's so good to have you. My heart was pounding wildly. And I could only feel his smile growing fainter, his face becoming increasingly blurred. An overwhelming sense of unease nearly knocked me off my feet. Then Xing Xiaoxi spat out a mouthful of blood. Perhaps too much time had passed, or perhaps my mind was too frantic to hold on to any other memories. I can't recall the name of his illness, something extremely rare. Life just came to an abrupt end, with an almost absurd abruptness. My last memory lingers in a pristine white hospital room. In the deathly silence, only the faintly glowing machine beside me persistently beeped, like it was counting down my last breaths. I refused to accept this. How could I ever accept it? I met Xing Xiaoxi in my youth. Back then, I was a country bumpkin from the countryside. Because I was somewhat pretty and had enviable dancing talent, a few girls in class started targeting me intentionally or unintentionally. I endured and endured, until the day they overturned my grandmother's pancake stall. Amidst the mess on the ground, I tearfully helped my grandmother up while the girls, glamorous and aloof, laughed with sharp, piercing voices. They called me Pancake Girl and told me to go home and flip pancakes. Grandma was mute, her lips trembling as she gestured to wipe the oil stains off me. They laughed even more joyfully. And so Xing Xiaoxi appeared at this moment, holding a camera. He made a call that summoned the school authorities. He was a good student and his family was fairly well off, making him quite an impressive figure in our small town. It was evening, though the sky had been overcast all day. Somehow at that moment the sunlight broke through the layers of gloom, pouring directly onto Xing Xiaoxi. He extended his hand, holding a clean and neatly folded handkerchief in his palm. The first thing he said was, "Sorry, I wanted to gather evidence first. So I didn't come to help you right away." Even now, I still remember how my heart raced that day, violent and powerful. It sustained me as I traversed alone through countless worlds of his death and cycles. Even by the second morning, I was still somewhat dazed. Xing Xiaoxi got up at this moment, changed into the clothes I had ironed, and glanced at me setting breakfast on the dining table. "Aren't you going to the dance troupe? Just staying at home like this? There's nothing for you to do here anyway." His voice trailed off on the last few words, filled with confusion. My hand wiping the table paused as I looked up at him, only to see his gaze quickly shift away. "Have breakfast at home. I won't eat. Don't see me off. And don't come pick me up tonight. I'm going to see Dr. Feng." He rubbed his temples at just the right moment, speaking in a flat tone. If it were before, I would definitely be worried about his condition. But now, I just feel a chill in my heart. He's about to turn 28. And we're about to get married. In previous lives at this time, I had completely lost the mood to work, living in constant fear every day, so I simply quit my job at the dance troupe and truly became a housewife. Back then, he thought I was working too hard and said with a smile, "Then don't go, just dance for me alone from now on. With me here, what do you have to worry about?" I accompanied him to and from work, and he proudly introduced me to his colleagues. He raised his hand boastfully to show off our matching rings. And now, he looks at me warily and coldly, telling me, "Stop staring at me all day, find something to do for yourself." My breath hitches, followed by the slam of the door, plunging the room into an eerie silence. I sit at the table, mechanically picking at the breakfast in front of me, still warm to the touch, yet it feels unusually cold when it reaches the mouth. How could this happen, ever since Xing Xiaoxi started treatment? The distance between us seems to have gradually widened. He's begun to grow weary and reject my presence. After spending 3 lifetimes with me, now you've found true love. But saving Xing Xiaoxi was like a pre-programmed destiny written in my code. Suddenly being asked to give up feels like losing the center of gravity in my life. I feel like I should rush up and confront him, demanding to know if all my efforts in past lives were just a joke in his eyes. But then why did he keep playing along with me time after time, yet I still act as if nothing ever happened, watching helplessly as Xingshaoxi gradually distanced himself from me, grew colder, and our conversations became fewer and fewer, watching helplessly as Feng Qinshuang grew closer to him, even to the point where on several nights, he couldn't be bothered to pretend anymore, directly calling her from the balcony, in the darkness, even through a pane of glass. I could see the smile spreading across Xingshaoxi's lips. Then one evening, like a resentful wife, I stubbornly sat at the dining table, waiting for him to return. It was almost 9 o'clock. After reheating the food countless times, Xingshaoxi finally returned. However, he didn't come back alone. Feng Qinshuang was with him. Feng Qinshuang nodded at me in greeting, then naturally changed shoes and entered the living room. "Don't misunderstand, Miss Xiao, I'm only here to assist Mr. Xing with his treatment." Mr. Xing's description is that he is always troubled by memories from the past or those that never existed, so I came to examine the home environment, which is actually a significant factor affecting mental state. She smiled generously and spoke professionally, displaying complete composure in front of me, utterly devoid of the coquettishness she showed beside Xingshaoxi, appearing dignified and proper. It even made me feel as if the ambiguity between her and Xingshaoxi was just my imagination, but the next moment, when her gaze met Xingshaoxi's, she flashed a meaningful smile, carrying their unique understanding. "Throw these things away, and also redesign the sofa layout over here." Her red lips parted and closed, until finally I could no longer make out what she was saying. All I saw was how the house Xingshaoxi and I had carefully arranged was being altered beyond recognition by her. Her gaze grew smug and provocative as she lifted her chin to look at me. "People always have to look forward, so just throw away the old things." She took off a pendant from her bag and hung it at the entrance, saying in a coquettish tone, "Mr. Xing, seeing something bright and colorful before going out will make you feel better. This is our marital home." I watched Xingshaoxi's lips curve uncontrollably, reluctantly bid farewell to Feng Qinshuang, then my trembling lips began to speak. He asked back in confusion, "Our meticulously designed marital home, you just bring another woman back like this, casually disrupting our arrangements, leaving her traces behind." Ran, Dr. Feng is a professional. If something's unreasonable, it needs to be changed. Should I just stay sick if I'm ill? His tone carried a hint of helplessness, yet I detected an undercurrent of impatience. "Stop being so stubborn. If you don't like the current arrangement, we can change it later according to your preferences." Bitterness rose in my throat. I took a deep breath and forced a smile as I spoke. "Xingshaoxi, are we supposed to get our marriage certificate next month? Are you still getting married?" Xingshaoxi frowned. "What are you making a fuss about? Just because Feng Qinshuang came to visit." Xiao Ran, "I think you have too much free time. If you have nothing to do, go find something to occupy yourself. Stop staring at me with wild imaginations. Now you're just saying whatever comes to mind." He wanted to say something more, but the next second he froze in place. My tone was flat and cold. "Let's not get married." Just 3 words, yet I struggled to say them. Xingshaoxi didn't react immediately, his eyes showing a trace of confusion. "What did you say?" As he spoke, his voice trembled slightly, sounding as if he was suppressing some kind of joy. I suddenly remembered what he had said in front of Feng Qinshuang. "She's always clinging to me, like bad luck following me around." How could I not have accidents? My tears just froze in my eyes, held back from falling. Instead, a surge of grief and indignation rushed to my head, my icy blood seeming to ignite as I smiled soundlessly. "What? Are you pleased that I said I won't get married? Xingshaoxi, you haven't really fallen for someone else, have you? Can't wait to get rid of me." Realizing I seemed to be joking around with him, his expression instantly darkened, his face terrifyingly grim. "Xiao Ran, it's you who seems to have mental issues. Think this is fun? No wonder I've been in a bad state lately. It's because of your influence." He looked down at me condescendingly, angrily threw off his coat, and went to sleep in the guest room. The living room fell silent again, but the oppressive atmosphere lingered. I looked up at the ceiling, and the tears I'd held back for so long didn't recede. Instead, they rushed out uncontrollably. After that day, the relationship between Xingshaoxi and me grew even more strained. He began openly seeking out Feng Qinshuang without any pretense. Faced with my heart-wrenching accusations, he merely looked at me indifferently, his expression mocking. "Then just give up on me. Don't get married then. Your world doesn't revolve around me alone." He remained calm, which only made me seem like the crazy one. I was left speechless. I can't accept this. I've invested 4 lifetimes. My sunk costs are too great, so great that I lack the courage to abandon everything I built. I kept thinking, just wait a little longer, until the day we were supposed to get our marriage certificate. The night before, he didn't come home. The next day, I stood at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau for a long time, after making who knows how many calls. Someone finally picked up on the other end. It was Feng Qinshuang. Miss Xiao, she celebrated my birthday with me last night and had a bit too much to drink. He's still not sober yet. When I rushed over, Feng Qinshuang opened the door for me. In the apartment, she stood against the wall in thin clothing, radiating an indescribable allure. Following her gaze, I saw the man inside getting dressed. Today I'd unusually put on makeup and pinned up my hair, but at this moment, with my hair disheveled and holding our documents, I looked utterly ridiculous. 3. Turning around to look at Xing Xiaoxi, apart from some surprise, he remained composed and instead asked me, "Why are you here?" Feng Qinshuang thoughtfully closed the door for us. Only her spectator's gaze was so piercing that it threatened to shatter my last shreds of rationality. "What am I doing here, Xing Xiaoxi? Are you even sober?" My blood boiled, and I couldn't help but throw all the documents on the ground. "If you don't want to get married, just say so. There's no need to humiliate me like this." He froze for a moment, then slowly picked them up, curling his lips into a faint smile. "I thought you already knew, but you still wouldn't let it go." He straightened up and stood over me, looking down with indifference as if I were a stranger. "Can't you tell? I want to break up with you." Reason snapped like a taut string. I widened my eyes in disbelief as I looked up at him. I tried to find traces of the person he used to be in the man before me, but I failed. He lounged lazily on the edge of the bed, watching my reaction with amusement. "Xing Xiaoxi, what do you think death feels like?" After a long silence, I heard my own voice, hoarse and startling. I didn't feel death, but it was close. That kind of pain was worse than dying. So tired, so exhausted. I don't even know why I'm still holding on. Xing Xiaoxi visibly stiffened, his pupils trembled uncontrollably. Panic flashed across his face for a moment before he lowered his eyes, unnaturally avoiding my gaze. He knew what I was talking about. After all, he also carried memories from 3 lifetimes. He remained silent, and suddenly I felt a profound sadness. It felt like a century of silence had passed. "Do you think I'm not tired?" Xing Xiaoxi finally spoke, "having died 3 times. Do you think I feel good about it? Every time I started over, I held on to the hope that maybe this time would be different, and I walked the same path without hesitation. But repeating the same mistakes over and over, do you understand how that feels?" By the 3rd time, I was actually ready to give up. I really wanted to just die and be done with it. "Why come back again, Xiao Ran? I actually admire you quite a bit." Standing at the beginning and seeing an inevitable death at the end, then looking back from the ending, don't you feel despair? No matter how hard you try, nothing changes. His voice choked up slightly, his eyes as if veiled by a thin mist. "Accept it. This is reality. Our story can only end there. I died at 28, but what about you? Did the second half of your life die with me? Let yourself go." With his last words, Feng Qinshuang opened the door. Sunlight streamed in, as if guiding him toward a new life. Without hesitation, he stepped forward toward Feng Qinshuang. I struggled to take a step forward, watching Feng Qinshuang standing perfectly matched with him. "Miss Xiaoxi said this strawberry tart is delicious, so I specially bought an extra one for you to take back." She handed me an exquisitely packaged dessert. At a glance, my hand jerked away as if electrocuted. That deep-seated fear in my soul swept over me again, leaving me paralyzed. I used to love eating strawberry tarts, and in my second life, Xing Xiaoxi even learned to make them himself. But I always complained about his poor skills and only bought them from one particular shop. After work, he went to buy them for me at the dessert shop across the street. Then a billboard came crashing down, smearing strawberry jam all over the ground. I will never forget that scene. Since then, I've never touched strawberries again. "It tastes great, you should try it again." Xing Xiaoxi's voice was calm and light, as if all our past had become a gust of wind, blown away by him. In the 4th life, I didn't arrive at Xing Xiaoxi's 28th year. Xing Xiaoxi packed up all his belongings. As he dragged his suitcase out, he remained as aloof as an outsider. He even destroyed every single photo of us. As I watched him expressionlessly throw away all the things that once carried countless memories of us into the trash, that suffocating feeling of my heart being tightly gripped overwhelmed me completely. "The house is yours, let's leave it at that." Xing Xiaoxi left without any hesitation. That strawberry tart was still on the table, its bright red strawberry jam looking like blood. I expressionlessly stuffed it into my mouth, the familiar taste flooding my entire palate, seemingly mixed with an indescribable metallic bloodiness, until finally I managed to swallow it with difficulty. By the time I realized, tears were already streaming down my face. An abrupt phone ring suddenly sounded. I answered to hear the dance company's principal on the line. Ran, we're missing a character for our new play. We've been searching for a while but couldn't find the right person. Do you think you could come help us out? I paused for a moment, responded with then added, I can come today. Are you still rehearsing at the usual place? After receiving an affirmative reply, I rubbed my temples and headed straight to the location. If Xingxiaoxi was the first major event in my life, then dance was the second, in my first life. With Xingxiaoxi's encouragement, I took the art college entrance exam and successfully joined a local dance troupe after graduation. In subsequent lives, I continued to follow the same trajectory, but my dance career always stopped at this point. Because of Xingxiaoxi's death, I had to abandon everything else in my life and fully confront the insurmountable mountain of life and death. Now that I think about it, since Xingxiaoxi doesn't need me anymore, should I also return to my own path? But the effect was actually very poor. I stepped back onto the dance floor, following the music, but found it hard to regain that feeling. After I missed the beat again, the teacher looked at me, shook her head, and sighed softly. Ran, maybe you should take a break and adjust your state first. As the song ended, the members scattered to rest, while I stood there lost in thought. I was once the teacher's most favored student, young yet exceptionally talented. She once praised me, saying I naturally became the center of attention wherever I stood, but now, I feel trapped in a predicament with no way out. Teacher, how long will this rehearsal take? 2 months later, I froze for a moment when I got the answer, because by that calculation, the premiere date happened to be Xingxiaoxi's 28th birthday. In several past lives when I was desperately trying to save Xingxiaoxi from death, the dance troupe completed their premiere perfectly without me. Actually, I didn't need to participate. After all, they never came looking for me in previous lifetimes. The moment this thought crossed my mind, I was ready to back out, but as the music's rhythm surged again, watching everyone compose their expressions and devote themselves wholeheartedly, the words of surrender stuck in my throat. Impossible to utter. The moment I stepped out of the dance studio, I immediately booked a plane ticket. The destination was a small town in the southwest, where the dance now incorporated local ethnic characteristics. Having been away from the troupe for so long, I could no longer keep up with the pace. The teacher was very supportive. Go and learn something new, and take the chance to relax, it'll do you good. The wind blowing against me lifts my long hair as I exhale a deep breath. Suddenly smiling in relief, some things are just meant to be let go. I too have my own 28th year. By the time I returned from out of town, nearly a month had already passed. During this month, I wandered through mountains and forests, working and chatting with the local grannies. In moments of joy, we would dance under the evening sunset. People of their ethnicity, young and old, possess a unique talent for dance, unpolished yet indescribably free and radiant, without formal music. Everyone hummed tunes while rhythmically tapping nearby bamboo baskets. Unintelligible dialects and sunlight enveloped me together, soothing and smoothing my scarred, hollowed heart. Upon returning to my homeland, my teacher came to pick me up. Seeing me smile so effortlessly, her face too blossomed into a grin. There's a dance performance tonight, come check it out. I smiled and said okay, planning to go home and change clothes. But unexpectedly, just as I reached my doorstep, I looked up and saw Xingxiaoxi leaning against the doorframe, and beside him, arm in arm, was Feng Qinshuang. When she saw me, Feng Qinshuang warmly came over with a beaming smile. Ran, have you been out playing? What's wrong? Yet my gaze couldn't help but drift towards Xingxiaoxi again, but he skillfully avoided it. My heart suddenly skipped a beat, forcing a smile. I turned to look at Feng Qinshuang. Is there something you need? Oh. It's like this, Xiaoxi said he left something here and came to pick it up. Since we just got our marriage certificate today, we thought we'd drop by to share the good news. The wedding date isn't set yet, but you absolutely must come. Feng Qinshuang's smile was radiant and dazzling, her ring reflecting blinding light under the sun. In a daze, I couldn't articulate what I was feeling. After opening the door to let them in, Xingxiaoxi went to fetch something, while Feng Qinshuang sat right in front of me, talking about how wonderful Xingxiaoxi was. Seeing the happiness radiating from her face, I just felt a tightness in my chest. they're certainly moving fast. Xing Xiaoxi really couldn't wait to get rid of me. Where are those matching bracelets we bought after the college entrance exams? Xing Xiaoxi suddenly spoke up, catching me off guard with his question. I instinctively pulled my hands into my sleeves, hiding the fact that both bracelets were actually still on my wrists. After the exams, he worked 2 months of summer jobs, toiling from dawn till dusk, just to put one of those bracelets on my wrist when I started college. Later, when we had money, he started putting more expensive jewelry on my hands. I've kept those 2 pieces stored away. It was a somewhat famous affordable luxury brand, not too expensive when purchased, but now it's become a collector's item that's hard to obtain even with money. Shuang really liked them. You can just give me my piece. The smile on my face was becoming hard to maintain. When did Xing Xiaoxi become such an undignified person? For his current girlfriend, he actually had the nerve to come ask his ex for things back without feeling awkward. I was undignified too, foolishly treasuring these 2 bracelets like precious things hidden on my wrist, while I was lost in thought. Xing Xiaoxi had already noticed. He stepped forward, unceremoniously grabbed my forearm, and exposed my pale wrist. Feng Qinshuang exclaimed in surprise beside them. So it was in Ranran's hands all along, and she even brought 2. Xiaoxi, perhaps Ranran really likes them. I'll pass, let her keep them. At that moment, I felt as if I had been stripped bare. Xing Xiaoxi's slightly mocking gaze, Feng Qinshuang's pitying yet triumphant smile, all cut through my flesh like sharp knives. Xiao Ran, you still can't let go, can you? So in love, aren't you? Xing Xiaoxi let out a mocking laugh as he spoke. Grief and indignation welled up in my heart as I forcefully shook off Xing Xiaoxi's hand. It was at this moment I realized the person before me was no longer the Xing Xiaoxi who once loved me. With a relieved smile, I unfastened the clasp of the bracelet and threw both pieces into the trash bin. Sorry, you're overthinking it. It's just because they're expensive. Can't I pretend to be rich for once? But when too many people like something, it becomes disgusting. I've never liked sharing with others. If you want them, go pick them up yourself. That day, Xing Xiaoxi left angrily with Feng Qinshuang in his arms, and before going, he didn't forget to humiliate me one last time. Don't you dare fall apart without me. This time, make sure it's not you who dies first. I no longer had any lingering feelings for him and retorted without hesitation. There's still a month left. Say your proper goodbyes to your wife, lest you run out of time for last words. Watching his retreating figure, I decisively picked up the trash bag and flung it straight into the large bin by the door. Perfect. Now there won't be any trace of him left in the house. I looked around, thinking I might as well rearrange the home decor in a couple of days while I'm at it. In the evening, I went to watch a dance performance. My colleagues on stage saw me and smiled back at me. When it ended, I suddenly realized I was already in tears. On the way to offer flowers at the backstage, I suddenly heard sobbing sounds. I looked and saw what appeared to be a mother and daughter. The one crying was a little girl, her mother comforting her by her side. It's okay, Yu, we'll come back next time. Big sister will definitely return. As I stood there at a loss, the little girl suddenly looked up and met my gaze. The next second, an extraordinary light burst forth in her eyes as she stared at me in disbelief. Sister Xiaoran. By the time I came to my senses, she had already run up to me. Oh, it's you. You must be Xiaoran. My daughter is your little fan. She's been worried about you since you haven't appeared in the dance troupe's recent performances, and she insisted on coming backstage to see you. Ever since this child watched your performance 3 years ago, she's been determined to learn dance, saying she wants to share the stage with you someday. Her mother's words hit me like a pebble dropped into my heart, sending ripples through my emotions. The girl shyly stole glances at me, her round face flushed with excitement. The girl's mother warmly pulled us together for a photo. Before leaving, the girl gently tugged my sleeve and asked cautiously, Sister, is something wrong? Why haven't we seen your performances for so long? Sister will keep dancing, right? Yu will always be by sister's side. I froze for a moment, unsure why my eyes grew slightly moist. I bent down to pat her head and nodded solemnly. There'll be my performance next month. Remember to come watch. Yu. I watched as the little girl's eyes widened, brimming with unrestrained joy, and smiled back at her. She skipped away, and the teacher appeared beside me at some point. Have you found the status? I nodded and softly murmured Time flew by as I immersed myself in rehearsals, and before I knew it, the opening night had arrived. An alarm I never set suddenly went off abruptly when I woke up in the morning. Confused, I was about to turn it off when I realized it was a schedule reminder. Only then did it dawn on me, today is also Xingxiaoxi's 28th birthday. The alarm was counting down, 12 hours left until the time he was last diagnosed with the disease. I suddenly felt a bit dazed and couldn't help wondering. Will he die in this lifetime? 5. Could it really be because of me that he keeps dying over and over? If he doesn't die, I'll bless him. If he dies, then, time didn't allow me to consider so much, because the teacher's call had already come through. For the final rehearsal, we must ensure everything is foolproof. In the blink of an eye, most of the day passed and evening arrived. 7 o'clock was our performance time, and also the time when the accident happened in my previous life. My heart was pounding, though I didn't know what I was nervous about. The teacher asked the members to take a break first, adjust their mindset, and face the stage in an hour. I went outside to get some fresh air. The phone ringtone suddenly rang at this moment, sounding sharp and piercing. I quickly answered it with one hand, only to realize it was Xingxiaoxi calling. The voice on the other end was very soft. Ran, if I die, would you be sad? 1 more hour? The previous 2 deaths had both occurred suddenly before his birthday. Only the third time, when abnormalities were detected on his birthday, did it give me some time to say goodbye. I was stunned. I really wanted to blurt out, no way, aren't you bound to die anyway, whether with me or with Feng Qinshuang? Such words to mock his infidelity, but when the words reached my lips, I just sighed softly. Maybe, if I die, will you start over? He asked again, perhaps separated by a screen. I couldn't discern the emotion in his voice, only his voice sounded somewhat hoarse, distorted as it reached my ears. This time I didn't hesitate and replied firmly, if he dies again this time, it can only prove that all my previous efforts were in vain. Fate is predetermined and cannot be changed no matter what. I won't have any thoughts of restarting again. He was silent for a moment before speaking again in a faint voice, all right. Wishing you a successful performance. The moment I hung up the phone, a flood of inexplicable emotions surged in my heart, but the strongest one seemed to be nothing more than a sense of pity, a tragic fate that cannot be escaped no matter how much one cycles through it. I walked backstage where the actors had already begun applying makeup and changing costumes. I also composed myself, preparing to face the upcoming performance. At 7 o'clock sharp, everything resets. I stepped onto the long-awaited stage, gazed at the audience filling the seats below, took a deep breath, and slowly raised my hand. The music transitioned from fast to slow before finally stopping. When the piece ended, I hadn't made a single mistake. The moment the stage lights illuminated my entire being, I saw the gently lifted faces in the audience, radiant with happiness and joy, just as I had countless times when watching dancers on stage as a spectator. From that moment on, the seed of a dream was actually sown in my heart. Now it has finally blossomed and borne fruit once again. I am reborn. As I stepped off the stage, a teacher behind the curtain presented me with flowers, wiping away tears. Ran, you truly live up to my expectations. To be honest, I was initially worried that after such a long break from practice, you might struggle to keep up, but your boyfriend came forward insisting you'd have no problems at all. He repeatedly assured me. Oh, by the way, why didn't he come to present flowers at today's premiere? My mind went blank for a moment, and I instinctively asked, wait, Xingxiaoxi approached you? Yes, I originally didn't want to consider you. After all, you'd officially resigned from the troupe. It wasn't just a leave of absence, but Xiaoxing personally came to plead for another chance on your behalf, saying you'd made that decision impulsively without proper consideration. I do think it's a pity for you. And you probably felt too embarrassed to contact me again, so I took the initiative to call you. She kept chattering on. My mind went completely blank. So, this opportunity was secured for me by Xingxiaoxi, but why would he do that? The memories of the fourth life were too chaotic and fragmented, flooding into my mind all at once, making my head feel like it was about to explode from the pain. I seemed to have forgotten something very important, but what could it be? The phone beside me suddenly jerked me back to reality, with Feng Qinshuang's eerily calm voice on the other end. Xingxiaoxi is dead. When I rushed over, Feng Qinshuang said he wanted to see me one last time, so he held on and didn't die. I found this statement ridiculous, with a sense of absurdity that didn't match reality. Dazedly, I entered his hospital room, white and pristine as in the third life, like heaven. He lay on the white hospital bed, his face bearing a peculiar serenity. Seeing me, he seemed in good spirits. You didn't cry this time, quite composed. You're going to die anyway. After dying so many times, you should be used to it by now. My voice was calm, and the moment I said it, even I found it unbelievable. like a boulder that once weighed on my heart, it crumbled away without me noticing. He didn't close his eyes, staring fixedly into mine. "You're really just going to watch me die like this? You won't come back, Then why are you still here?" he asked me with a smile. In an instant, everything around began to blur and fade, like a dream about to end. The illusory scene started to distort. Only Xing Xiaoxi's face remains clear. His smile was faint, as if about to disappear. "Xiaoran, you shouldn't be here. You should go back, return to your life, return to your stage, return to your 28-year-old self. I'm dead. You said you've let go." The whole world fell silent, only his voice remained, crystal clear, like a sharp sword piercing straight through my heart, shattering the 3 lifetimes I had deluded myself into constructing. Oh, now I remember. There was no cycle, it was simply him, out of love, accompanying me through 2 more lifetimes, and again out of love, having to force me to face reality. It's me, trapped in his death, unable to move on. Side story, Feng Qin. My name is Feng Qin. I am a psychological counselor. At the beginning of the year, I met a client, a gentle and polite noblewoman, although she didn't look well. It was clear she wasn't in such a state that required my help. Just as I had thought, she took me to meet the real guest, a 28-year-old woman. "This is my daughter-in-law. She and my son were in a car accident during their road trip. My son died on the spot." The noblewoman choked up slightly. After being unconscious for 2 days and waking up, her mental state became like this. I turned my head to look at the woman sitting on the sofa. She was very beautiful, with a slender figure and graceful posture. The noblewoman said she used to be a dancer. I chuckled and said it showed. She sat quietly, playing with 2 intertwined bracelets on her wrist. "Her name is Xiaoran. You can call her Ranran." 6. I nodded, attempting to strike up a conversation with her, but she remained silent, only turning her head to look at me with unfocused eyes, as if separated from us by an entire world. "She's always sleeping, barely awake for a few hours each day." The noblewoman sighed, her eyes already rimmed red. "Please, help us." Initially, I confidently took on this task. After a few days of interaction, I discovered Xiaoran was a very gentle person. Sometimes when I spoke, she would listen quietly, but just as I was preparing to advance the treatment, I encountered difficulties. Although Xiaoran showed indifference to everything in the outside world, her reactions were intense when it came to Xing Xiaoxi. For example, I suggested rearranging her room with brighter colors and minimizing reminders of Xing Xiaoxi's presence, even though he had already passed away, reduce her exposure to his belongings. Otherwise, it would just be constant emotional triggers. Despite her overwhelming grief, Xing Xiaoxi's mother knew life must go on, so she complied with everything. However, Xiaoran reacted intensely to everything, staring at me with furious hostility as if I were an enemy. She even spoke up for the first time, calling me the third party who intruded into her world with Xing Xiaoxi. I was somewhat dumbfounded. I admit I might have acted too hastily, so when my gaze fell on her wrists, she reacted even more intensely, tightly covering those 2 bracelets as if afraid I'd take away the last thing Xing Xiaoxi left her. Xing Xiaoxi's mother was wiping tears beside them. I was at a complete loss for the first time. I had underestimated her feelings for Xing Xiaoxi, so a few days later, I opted for another treatment approach, hypnosis. I inquired with Xing Xiaoxi's mother about some details of their past and also learned about Xiaoran's history. If it weren't for that car accident, our whole family would have happily gone to watch the premiere of her new dance drama. That day was supposed to be Xiaoxi's birthday too. He had even planned to watch the performance together first, then take us all out to celebrate. He said he loved watching Ranran dance the most. Life is unpredictable. Perhaps the only redemption for the living is to face the passing of the deceased. My treatment was merely a trivial guidance. I wanted to give her some positive suggestions while her subconscious was relaxed. However, I miscalculated. My patient fell into a deep sleep state, which was already beyond my control, but her behavior didn't seem like suffering. Forget it. Just let her sleep for a while. I thought this way, then quietly sat beside her and waited the entire afternoon. During that time, I even considered giving up on this patient and refunding all the fees. Their bond was too deep. How can I help someone who has lost a loved one to bravely accept the truth? Perhaps the deceased would have to stand before her and say, "Wake up, face reality, snap out of it." That might be the only way it would work. An absurd thought popped into my mind, but I quickly suppressed it, because before me, Xiaoran slowly opened her eyes. The first words spoken were, "I'm back." A world without Xing Xiaoxi, yet there was her 28th year, the rest of her life. Perhaps the meaning of the cycle is not to bring the dead back to life, but to let the living find peace. Story 2. Before the wedding, I suddenly broke off the engagement, abandoning Shen Ku, whom I had always loved deeply, and instead choosing Jiang Wang, whom I hated the most. Everyone was shocked, including Jiang Wang. He thought I was playing a trick on him, and his voice was hoarse. You said I'm a stalker. A lunatic, a pervert. How could you possibly choose me? You clearly hate me the most. Yes, I used to hate him the most, but it was precisely him, whom I hated the most, who, in my previous life, when I was kidnapped, was the only one who abandoned everything to save me. He even died a tragic death under the knife to protect me. Given a second chance, I took his hand. From today on, I don't hate you anymore. Can I love you instead? Jiang Wang lowered his gaze, gave a self-deprecating smile, and didn't believe me. I'm so crazy, how could you possibly love me? Why not? After all, now I'm crazier than you. I'm not available this afternoon. When I just woke up, Shen Ku's voice rang in my ears. He was tidying up his immaculate suit, his tone cold. It's just about trying on the wedding dress, you can go by yourself. I was a bit dazed. One moment I was still in the damp, dark, and bloody dock warehouse, and the next second I was back here, hearing the familiar voice saying the familiar words. I actually had returned to this day many years ago. Seeing that I didn't reply, Shen Ku thought I was reluctant. He glanced at me disdainfully, and his tone became even more impatient. Are you still a 3-year-old child? Do you need someone to accompany you for everything? Do I need to remind you that you're already an adult? I raised my eyes to look at him. He didn't have any work arrangements this afternoon. He was in a hurry to go out because his secretary, Sunan, cut her finger while making lunch. From the video she posted on Moments, the wound wasn't serious, but she was crying as if the sky was falling. When Shen Ku saw that Moments post, he was about to leave, presumably. It was to accompany her to the hospital. He left me, his fiancée. For this reason, in my previous life, I didn't want to quarrel with him. I endured the grievances and made concessions again and again, but what I got in return was 3 years of coldness and loneliness after marriage, until finally, the kidnappers set their sights on the wealth of the Shen family and kidnapped me, the wife of the Shen family, asking me to get money from Shen Ku. On that day, Shen Ku was celebrating Sunan's birthday. The content Sunan posted on Moments showed a wonderful time, saying that Shen Ku had queued up for a long time to buy the cake she wanted to eat, but such a Shen Ku didn't even want to answer my call. I dialed Shen Ku's number with trembling hands. It took more than a dozen attempts to get through. Finally, when the call was connected, Shen Ku's voice was cold and full of impatience. Kidnapped, to make me accompany you. You even came up with such a disgusting trick. Aren't you tired? If it's really a kidnapping, then let them kill the hostage. He cruelly hung up on me, cutting off the only rope for me to survive. The angry kidnappers realized that I was of no value to Shen Ku and wanted to take action against me. In the moment of crisis, the one who came to save me was someone I never expected, Jiang Wang. I had known him since my student days and had always hated him. When I hated him the most, I would even have nightmares just by looking at him. But it was this person whom I hated to the core who came to save me with everything he had worked so hard to obtain. When the kidnappers decided to silence me by killing me, it was also him who protected me. All the knives that were supposed to stab me landed on him. His blood gushed out and landed on me, so hot, until the end. He let out a faint sigh in my ear. He said, if there's an afterlife, can you please stop hating me? Thinking of Jiang Wang, my nose felt sour. I stood up and walked towards Shen Ku. Shen Ku thought I was going to hold him back and not let him leave. Immediately, his face turned cold, but I walked past him, opened the wardrobe, and took out a pair of stockings. Shen Ku frowned and sneered. What are you going to do? Seduce me? I thought this guy was crazy. I put on the stockings and said to him, Shen Ku, we're tired of each other. This is really boring. It's time to end it. Let's not get married either. Shen Ku lost his last bit of patience. What are you going crazy about now? I'm serious. The emotions in Shen Ku's eyes completely froze. In his anger, he didn't even want to say another word to me and directly slammed the door and left. I didn't bother to pay attention to him. After putting on my coat, I started packing my things. I put all my daily necessities into the suitcase, and the rest were packed into several garbage bags. When I carried the suitcase downstairs, I said to Aunt Lee in the house, Aunt Lee, please throw away those few bags of garbage in the bedroom for me. Aunt Lee stared at me in surprise. are you going out? Won't you be back tonight? No, I won't be back, I smiled happily. It was the brightest smile I had in a long time since I moved in. Never, ever coming back. After going out, I called all my relatives and friends to inform them of my decision. I also posted a message on Moments saying that the wedding was cancelled and pinned it to the top. Everyone was extremely shocked, because they all knew how much I loved Shinku. When I was 10 years old, the Wen family's business failed and was squeezed out of the market in Jing City. My parents started running around all over the place to find projects to save the Wen family business, and they left me alone at home for years. Shinku, who was in the same school as me, noticed that I had no parental care. He pitied me and took more care of me. When I reached the age of first love, I naturally fell in love with him. Later, my parents finally returned to Jing City. They discovered my feelings for Shinku and realized that they could use me to get in touch with the Jiang family, a powerful family, so they forced me to make connections. With their efforts, the elders of the Shin family finally agreed to the arranged marriage. I was extremely excited. But I didn't expect to see Shinku's cold face. I then realized that his kindness to me had always been out of pity, not love. But at that time, I stubbornly believed that Shinku would be moved by me one day. However, until the day I was kidnapped, I realized that it was all my wishful thinking. My parents regarded me as a tool, and Shinku regarded me as trash. Only Jiang Wang, a person I had never looked at properly, held me dear in his heart and risked his life for me. When the police arrived and rescued me on the day of the kidnapping, I held Jiang Wang's gradually cooling body in my arms and proposed a divorce to Shinku, who had arrived late. I thought I would be very sad, but actually I wasn't. After that, I tried to get to know Jiang Wang, so I learned that everything that made me hate him at the beginning was a misunderstanding, and all my malice towards him came from prejudice. He had tried so hard to get close to me, but I pushed him away cruelly again and again. I finally fell in love with him in the 3rd year after his death. That was also the year when I ended my own life. Before I died, I had only one thought: if I could have a second chance, I must love him deeply and be with him. Fortunately, God showed mercy and fulfilled my wish. It allowed me to return to the time when everything could still be made up for. After calling everyone, I turned off my phone and drove directly to Jiang Wang's company. The Shin family runs an electronic technology company, and Jiang Wang is Shinku's competitor in the industry. Unlike Shinku, who inherited the family business, Jiang Wang started from scratch. He didn't know how much hardship he had endured to finally reach where he was now. At this time, Jiang Wang's company had just managed to gain a foothold. Not only did Shinku target him everywhere, but it was also surrounded by other companies like wolves. This was exactly the most difficult time for him. I parked the car, walked into the company gate, and the receptionist politely asked me, "Madam, is there anything I can help you with?" I said, "I'm here to find someone. I'm looking for Jiang Wang." The receptionist was stunned when she heard Jiang Wang's name. After a moment of reaction, she asked, "Do you have an appointment?" "No, just ask him to come down." The receptionist was completely confused. After asking my name, she started making a phone call. When the call was connected, the receptionist said, "Mr. Jiang, there's a lady looking for you. She said her name is, I don't know her. Ask her to leave." He started chasing people away without even listening to the whole name. He was really unfeeling. I simply snatched the phone receiver. "Jiang Wang, are you sure you want to chase me away?" There was an immediate silence on the other end of the phone. After a long time, a deep and gentle voice came, "Wait for me." When Jiang Wang walked out of the elevator, I was dazed for a moment. The last time I saw him in my previous life, he was tired and his hair was messy. After taking the knife from me, his face was pale and there was blood all around his body. He was in a sorry state, and now he hadn't experienced all that yet. His tall and handsome figure stood out among the crowd. His overly outstanding appearance made the people around him couldn't help but look at him. When he walked in front of me, I could clearly see his cold and handsome face and a small mole at the corner of his eye. Strange, why didn't I notice that he had such a mole in my previous life? My direct gaze made Jiang Wang's expression a bit unnatural. "Is there something you want from me?" I smiled at him. "Can't I look for you if there's nothing?" "No, it's noon, I'm hungry. Can I treat you to a meal?" Jiang Wang was stunned for a moment, a bit surprised. "You want to have a meal with me?" He couldn't believe it. In the past, I couldn't avoid him enough and would never make such a request to him. I took a step forward, getting closer to him, and looked straight up at him. "Yes, don't you want to?" Jiang Wang pursed his lips and nodded slightly. I stretched out my hand and asked him, Do you want to hold hands? I'll count to 3, 1, 2. Before I could say 3. Jiang Wang had already raised his hand and gently held my fingertips in the shocked gaze of the receptionist lady. He was incredibly obedient. The restaurant was reserved by me in advance, and it was a seat by the window. The midday sun shone down, and through the gaps in Jiang Wang's eyelashes, it fell into his eyes in fine pieces. It was incredibly beautiful. Thinking carefully, in fact, Jiang Wang was good-looking since his youth, but at that time, he was too taciturn and gloomy. And he did things like stalking and harassing me, which made me full of disgust and fear towards him. When I saw him, it was like seeing a fly, and I had no intention of paying attention to his appearance or anything else. After his death, I gradually got to know him bit by bit from his life remnants and the few words that others said about him. He was actually a very good person. Jiang Wang was very quiet at this moment. His gaze fell on the hand that I had held just now. And he seemed a bit lost in thought. Compared to his madness and solitude in his youth, now he had a bit more coldness and self-restraint. Only when he occasionally glanced at me, there was a suppressed fire in his eyes. I took the steak that he had cut for me and took a big bite in his somewhat nervous gaze. A few traces of surprise and joy appeared on his face. Just because of such an action of mine, he could be emotionally affected, until he saw the wedding ring on my finger. The light in his eyes suddenly went out, and his tone became cold. Did you come to me to give me a wedding invitation? I was stunned for a moment and quickly took off the ring. I had thrown away so many things before coming here, but I actually forgot about the ring. The ring was ordered in a hurry by Shen Ku, and even the size was wrong. It was a bit loose on me. When I moved my finger, it fell off. I casually threw the ring into the trash can. There won't be any wedding, I said. It's over between me and Shen Ku. Jiang Wang's expression didn't change, and it was obvious that he didn't believe me. A month later, there will be a project bidding in the southern part of the city. You want me to withdraw and not compete with the Shen Corporation, so you came to me, right? What are you talking about? I was a bit speechless, but more than that, I felt distressed. The previous one you would definitely not show Jiang Wang a good face. Let alone have a meal with him at the same table. She would only give him a cold look and was even stingy with a glance at him, so it wasn't strange that he didn't believe me and thought I was approaching him with some purpose. I said, I'm not lying to you, what I said is true. Jiang Wang's eyes were calm, and his voice was very low. You're impossible to leave him, you clearly love him so much, but I don't love him anymore now. Love is built up by countless small details, and of course, not loving is the same. Countless times of soup that was cooked and then cooled down. Countless nights when I couldn't wait for him no matter how long I waited, the phone calls that couldn't be connected no matter how many times I tried or were hung up as soon as they were connected, and the cold words that hit me one after another. In the last period of time, when I saw him and Sunanan going around together, my heart was numb, and I didn't feel any pain at all. Perhaps before that kidnapping, or even earlier, I had already stopped loving him. The atmosphere during this meal was strange. Jiang Wang kept silent, and I didn't know how to start a conversation, so I kept picking up food for him. All the dishes I ordered were his favorites. Of course, I learned this from others. Jiang Wang basically didn't touch the other dishes. He only ate up all the food that I picked up for him. When this meal was over, I left the restaurant side by side with him. He said, I'll take you back. There was a little bit of disappointment and sadness in his tone. Although he tried to hide it, I still heard it. I laughed and said, but I have nowhere to go back to now. I just moved out of Shen Ku's house today. The suitcase is in my car. My parents want to drag me in front of Shen Ku to apologize. But I don't want to go back anymore. I have nowhere to go now. Jiang Wang, can you take me in? Jiang Wang stared straight into my eyes without blinking. Are you serious? You want to move into the home of a stalker like me? When he said the word stalker, there was a faint hint of self-deprecation and sarcasm in his tone. I answered him with my actions. I directly took out my luggage and stuffed it into his trunk, got into the passenger seat of his car, and then obediently fastened my seat belt. Jiang Wang looked at me for a moment, pretending to be calm, and got into the car, but I clearly saw the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and he simply couldn't suppress it. I thought to myself, just keep pretending. It didn't take long to arrive at his home. Jiang Wang lived not far from his company, on a high floor of a commercial building. The area was quite large, but because there was hardly any soft furnishings, the space looked very empty. It was really too desolate and quiet. It was more like a larger office than a residence. Jiang Wang paused for a moment at the door. Are you really going to move in? Yes, don't you welcome me?" Under the warm light in the entrance hall, I saw his Adam's apple move slightly. "No." I stepped closer to him and softened my voice. "Jiang Wang, what are you afraid of?" In fact, I knew what he was afraid of. He was afraid that I was just doing this on a whim. He was afraid that I would dislike him even more after getting to know him. He was afraid that I would step back without hesitation after getting close to him. Jiang Wang's voice was hoarse. "I just didn't expect you to come to me. I didn't expect you to be so close to me." "Is this close?" "This is just the beginning." I raised my hand and gently encircled his waist. It was just a half-hugging gesture. But Jiang Wang froze like a statue and instinctively grabbed my wrist. His voice was faintly trembling. No matter what you want to do, I admit that I've lost. Please don't play tricks on me anymore." "I'm not playing tricks on you. I'm serious." I took the initiative to stand on tiptoe and kissed him. I was a bit glad that I didn't reapply my lipstick after the meal just now. Jiang Wang's lips were cold, soft, and very kissable. He took a slight step back in surprise, and his waist hit the low cabinet in the entrance hall, during a break in the kiss. I stroked the side of his waist and smiled, saying, "Brother's waist is like a deadly knife. Can you let me touch it? Do you know what you're doing?" "I know. I'm seducing you." "You?" I'm so annoyed. "Are you done or not?" I lost my patience, squeezed into his chest, and kissed him even more forcefully. At first, Jiang Wang was shocked and too stiff to move, but this state of his didn't last long. The part of his neck that I kissed gradually turned a light pink. His body temperature rose quietly, and he couldn't help but hug me back. His breathing became rapid and disordered. Finally, he picked me up directly, strode into the bedroom, and threw me onto the bed. When his body leaned down, I saw the thin layer of sweat on his forehead. Even at this point, he still retained some rationality. If we continue, there will be no turning back." I never had the intention of turning back. I put my arms around his neck, rolled over, and pinned him underneath me. My fingers slowly traced across his chest and unbuttoned his shirt. "Jiang Wang, I've come to love you. In this life, I will never leave him again." I knew that Jiang Wang was crazy, but I really didn't expect that he was this crazy. After we fooled around for an afternoon, I no longer had the initial arrogance. I could only plead with him in a hoarse voice and a soft tone. But this damned man didn't show any sign of stopping at all. In the end, it ended with me gritting my teeth, shedding tears, and resentfully scolding him for being a beast. Even though he had stopped, Jiang Wang's body was still hot. He remained silent and gently put his arm around my waist. I leaned into his arms and was about to fall asleep. Then I heard Jiang Wang say something very softly. "Why, you fool, it's because I like you." Jiang Wang was silent for a while, then let out a hoarse murmur. "It's impossible." "There's nothing impossible." I looked up and kissed him, then smiled. "You must not know that it was God who allowed me to come to you, otherwise, it wouldn't have let me come back." Jiang Wang didn't understand, but seeing that I closed my eyes, he didn't ask any more. Instead, he just held me tighter. "If this is a dream, then let this dream last a little longer." I woke up from hunger. I groggily glanced at the wall clock, and it was 6 in the morning. After going crazy for an afternoon yesterday, I fell asleep before having dinner. After a whole night passed, the hunger was making my stomach churn. The side of the bed was empty, and Jiang Wang wasn't there. I didn't know if he had gone back to work again. Somehow, I felt a bit empty inside. My clothes from yesterday were all wrinkled, so I simply found some of Jiang Wang's clothes to wear from the wardrobe and walked out of the bedroom. It was just getting dawn in the early morning. The living room wasn't lit, and it was a bit dark. As a result, I didn't see the person sitting on the sofa. Just as I walked to the entrance hall, suddenly a hand grabbed the wrist of my hand that was about to open the door. Half of Jiang Wang's figure was hidden in the dimness, and his voice was deep, thinking of leaving. Before I could say anything, Jiang Wang said again, "I won't let you go. You broke into the home of a madman like me. Why do you think I would let you go back?" Jiang Wang exerted a bit more force and pulled me into his arms. His fingers caressed my face. He didn't have much of an expression, but the emotions in his eyes were intense, revealing a deep-seated paranoia. "I even want to lock you up here so that you can't leave." I looked at him speechlessly for a long time. After all, he couldn't hide it anymore and revealed his crazy side. "Is it possible that I don't want to leave at all?" I took his hand and placed it on my flat belly, looking pitiful. "I'm hungry and just want to buy some breakfast, presumably." He had been in the somewhat cold living room for a long time, so Jiang Wang's hands were cold. He was silent for a moment and then pulled me back from the entrance hall to the living room. "What do you want to eat?" I'll make it for you. Then, vegetable pancakes and shrimp congee. Jiang Wang walked into the kitchen and tied on an apron. I obediently waited at the kitchen door and watched him cook. Jiang Wang's inherent temperament was distant and cold, but at this moment, when he rolled up his sleeves, for some reason, he seemed to exude a bit more tenderness and warmth. He moved nimbly and skillfully, and soon the kitchen was filled with the aroma that made my stomach growl. After the breakfast was served on the table, I enjoyed it to my heart's content. The shrimp congee was fragrant and delicious. The vegetable pancakes were soft and tender, and with a glass of milk, it soothed my hungry stomach. Jiang Wang just watched me, until I was full. He silently went to clean up the dishes. While waiting for him in the living room, I took out my phone and turned it on. The moment I turned it on, a flood of various messages came crashing towards me. Before I could catch my breath, Shenku's call came through. I pressed the answer button. Shenku was breathing heavily, and his tone was gritted with anger. Where did you go? What does it have to do with you? It's all over between us. A qualified ex should be like a dead person. I can go wherever I want. It's not your place to ask, is it? Shenku was taken aback. In the past, I was always submissive and would never lose my temper in front of him, let alone say such things to him. Presumably, Shenku was really angry, and his voice became even colder. Just because I didn't accompany you to try on the wedding dress, you're doing this. You've really grown some guts. Don't think too highly of yourself. Anyway, we have nothing to do with each other anymore. Let's part on good terms. After saying that, I hung up the phone and blocked him. Then my father's call came through. As soon as I answered, a furious roar came from the other side. What on earth are you doing with Shenku? What conflict can't be resolved that you have to go this far? Do you know that our family's business still needs the help of the Shen family? Your business? What does it have to do with me? When I was a child, they were busy with work and only left me in the care of a nanny. Later, while they were running around, they had another son. That son has now started to take over the company's affairs, and I've always been like an irrelevant item in the family, to be used to exchange resources for the Wen family when I reached a certain age. In my previous life, I still cared about this family affection, but right after I divorced Shenku, they said that I actually abandoned the family for a dead person and didn't hesitate to drive me out of the house. I was alone, guarding Jiang Wang's ashes, wandering outside for 3 years. No one cared about me until I died. After going through life and death once, I've already seen through them. At the end of the call, I said, from now on, stay out of my business. If you do, you can still get a share of the pie. Otherwise, I'll expose all your previous dirty deeds and make sure you have no way out just like me. He cursed at me very harshly on the phone, but I didn't care. The obedient daughter they once had already died on that dark and silent night. Now, when you no longer wants to waste any emotion. Jiang Wang was still in the kitchen, but the sound of running water had stopped for a while. I didn't avoid him when answering these 2 calls and put them on speakerphone. After hanging up the phone, I walked to the kitchen and looked at the man standing there in silence. Did you hear that? I really won't marry Shenku. I've also broken off with my family. Now I'm all alone, with no relatives to rely on. I have nowhere else to go except here with you. I walked over and gently shook Jiang Wang's arm. Jiang Wang, I want to marry you. Will you agree? Jiang Wang turned to face me, and the way he looked at me was like looking at a dream that could shatter easily. He seemed to be talking to me, and also seemed to be talking to himself. But, you said I'm a stalker, a lunatic, a pervert. How could you possibly choose me? You clearly hated me the most. Yes, I used to hate him very much. He had no parents and grew up in an orphanage. Even when he was at school, he had to pick up some waste to exchange for living expenses. So many people laughed at him and bullied him, just because I pitted him and called the police to rescue him when he was surrounded by a group of gangsters. He had been pestering me ever since. He started stalking me, on the way to and from school every day. As long as I turned around, I could see him following behind me from a distance. There were even many times when I opened the window at night and could see him standing guard downstairs at my house. Even when I went to university, he applied to the same university as me. Just because a senior confessed his love to me, he broke one of the senior's arms that night, and the senior had to take a half-semester leave of absence. His behavior really scared me. In those years, whenever he got a little closer to me, I would hysterically scold and shout at him, telling him to stay away from me. For a long time, he was my nightmare, but it wasn't until after he died that I learned the truth about everything he had done. Jiang Wang was indeed paranoid and crazy. and sometimes his actions could be very extreme, but he would soften all his edges only for me. I was the only one in his heart. I hugged Jiang Wang's waist and looked up at him seriously. From now on, I don't hate you anymore. Can I love you instead? Love me? Jiang Wang lowered his gaze and gave a self-deprecating smile. I'm so crazy, how could you possibly love me? The thorn I had stabbed into his heart back then was too long and too deep, making him feel so inferior that he simply couldn't believe me. I had to pull out this thorn. Okay, I'll give you a chance to explain to me why you're so crazy. I pulled him to sit on the sofa and asked gently and patiently, Jiang Wang, why did you stalk me in high school? Jiang Wang lowered his eyes. Because you called the police to help me then. I heard them say they were going to take revenge on you. So he followed me every day to escort me. He was worried that those gangsters would cause trouble for me. Standing guard downstairs at my house was also because he saw the other side lingering near my house. At that time, besides me and the nanny, there were no other adults in my family to protect me, and he was worried. There were even many times when, without my knowledge, he alone blocked those gangsters. Once, he was seriously injured and didn't come to school for a long time. At that time, I was even glad that he hadn't pestered me for many days, but I didn't know that he had several broken ribs. He spoke very softly when talking about these things. In fact, he had once wanted to explain to me, but at that time, I was full of fear and prejudice and simply didn't listen to his explanation. As soon as he opened his mouth, I scolded him and told him to get lost. Later, he simply didn't say anything. I touched the side of his waist with a distressed feeling. The bones here had been broken for me, yet I only found out about it many years later. Then in university, why did you fight with that senior? After you rejected him that day, he wasn't willing to give up. He had prepared drugged drinks in advance and told his classmates that he must get you. I found out about this. So in his anger, he broke the other person's arm, making that person no longer dare to have any thoughts about me. He showed his kindness to me in the way he thought was right, but such kindness became the original reason for me to hate him. Now that I had listened to his explanation, I sat up straight, adjusted my attitude, and sincerely apologized to him. I'm sorry, you were actually protecting me, but I misunderstood you for so many years. In my previous life, I also apologized, but it was in front of his tombstone. But now, Jiang Wang was right in front of me. Hearing my apology, he was a bit at a loss. It's not really a misunderstanding. I'm indeed a lunatic, perhaps because my eyes were too sincere. He rarely had the willingness to pour out his heart. My birth wasn't expected by my parents, so they abandoned me. Because of my unlikable personality, no one was willing to adopt me. I always felt that I was a wandering soul in this world, and when I was completely disappointed in this world, I was going to leave. But I didn't expect to meet you, on the day those people surrounded me. The reason I didn't resist was that I wanted to leave. Many people passed by, but they all didn't want to get involved in trouble. They just took a quick glance and left. Only you stopped. Even though you were very scared yourself, you still called the police and screamed at them to stop. While waiting for the police to come, you looked at my wound and asked me with a crying voice if it hurt. At that moment, I suddenly didn't want to leave anymore. I wanted to lock you up, to make you cry and laugh only for me, to care about and care only for me. Even now, I still want to do that. You clearly helped me, but I want to trap you forever. I listened with tears in my eyes. He has endured so much suffering, yet his essence has never changed. Just because he received a little bit of kindness from me, he repaid me 1,000-fold or even more. But you didn't do that after all, I said. You clearly wanted to trap me, yet you still gave me my freedom. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed away from me and quietly watched me get engaged to Shinku. I sniffled, went over to hug him, and stroked his back to soothe him. Jiang Wang, I came for you. I will never leave you. I promise. Jiang Wang gently encircled my waist. I heard his voice, soft as a sigh, in my ear. Can I trust you? If you don't trust me, who else do you want to trust? Not wanting to see him feeling down anymore, my hand smoothly slipped into his clothes. Jiang Wang, after a full meal, one should do some exercise to aid digestion. Jiang Wang was stunned for a moment and didn't understand. Then shall we go for a walk outside? I'm talking about exercise in bed. After thinking for a while, I added, on the sofa is also okay. I was still wearing his shirt. I deliberately unbuttoned one button, revealing a large expanse of my collarbone and shoulder. Mr. Jiang, are you in? I watched as his breathing gradually became rapid, and his Adam's apple moved. Okay. I laughed and looked up to kiss him. That thorn was finally pulled out by me. For a long time after that, I lived in his home. I disliked that his home, which was like an office, was too desolate, so I set about renovating it. I added warm-colored throw pillows to the sofa, placed fragrant and beautiful flowers on the dining table, put vibrant green plants in the living room, hung oil paintings that I had carefully selected on the wall. And I even specially printed out the photos of him and me and placed them on the living room shelf. Jiang Wang really liked these changes. I'd always thought this was just a place to sleep. Now, it finally feels like a home. But he was only not very satisfied with the position where the photos were placed. He stared at the shelf for a long time. The next day, he came back with several photo frames containing our photos. One was placed on the sideboard, one on the TV cabinet, one on the bookshelf, one on the desk, one on the windowsill, and one on the bedside table. I was a bit speechless. Do you like these photos so much? Yes, I do. Jiang Wang smiled and hugged me. Especially, really like them. Even his phone screensaver was changed to a photo of the two of us. It just so happened that in that photo, I was being playful, lying on his back pretending to bite his ear. Why do you have to choose this one? Can't you choose a more decent one? But I like this one the most. I like it when you're so intimate with me. Is that not okay? Seeing the disappointment in his eyes, my heart immediately softened like water, and I quickly shook my head. It's okay, you can use whichever one you want. Then I placed an order for an anti-peeping phone film that night and replaced it for him. This photo could only be seen by him. This was my last bit of stubbornness. By Jiang Wang's side, I truly experienced what it was like to be loved. He was meticulous. He remembered every one of my preferences. He could even notice some of my small habits that I wasn't even aware of myself, and he could even keep track of my menstrual cycle. He was clingy. He seemed to be addicted to me. He would be anxious to find me if he couldn't see me for a moment. Like a kitten, he liked any form of physical contact with me. There was only one thing that I couldn't quite bear. That was this man. He was simply like an animal. As soon as night fell, he would reveal his crazy side. Every time we were intimate, he seemed to want to blend me into his bones and blood. Many times, he left me in a state of blurred consciousness, but even though I couldn't bear it sometimes, I still loved him for this. I loved it when he lost control because of me. I loved the small gesture of him kissing the side of my neck when he was in a state of passion. I loved the small mole at the corner of his eye that became even more alluring when he was sweating. And I loved his self-restraint when, even though his desires were hard to quell, he stopped all his actions because he felt sorry for me. In the middle of the night, when I woke up from my dream and escaped from that damp and dark warehouse, I gently stroked the hand on my waist, and only then did I feel at ease. Suddenly, the hand on my waist moved. He touched me, and his voice carried a hint of sleepiness. Why are you sweating so much? Did you have a nightmare? Yes, I dreamed that you died in the hands of others while trying to save me. Jiang Wang's actions paused. He turned my body around to face him and kissed me. Don't think about it. It was just a dream. What if it wasn't a dream? What if this is something I really experienced, and I really watched you leave me right in front of my eyes? As I spoke, I felt my eyes moisten. Jiang Wang, just as you cherish me, I also cherish you very much. So if there really is a critical situation, I hope you won't risk your life. Let's live together, okay? The moonlight shone through the window, and the sheer curtains fluttered in the breeze. Jiang Wang took my hand, placed it in his palm, and kissed it gently. Okay, let's both become old men and women and spend our whole lives together, and, thank you for cherishing me. My heart suddenly trembled, feeling a tingling sensation that was both itchy and painful. Mr. Jiang, you have to keep your word. Jiang Wang then smiled and hugged me. Yeah, I will keep my word. The next day, I prepared to go to work, saying it was going to work. Actually, it was just going to a coffee shop under my name and sitting there for a while. When I was with Shen Ku, he didn't allow me to work, so I was confined at home by him every day. When I was really bored out of my mind, I found my best friend, Chen Rao. I provided the money, and she provided the effort, and we opened this shop together. I just desperately wanted to prove that I also had some value in life. Even Shen Ku didn't know about this. I only told Jiang Wang. Jiang Wang drove me to the shop. We chatted and laughed all the way. Before getting out of the car, I leaned over to kiss him as usual. Dear boyfriend, come pick me up tonight. A gentle light flashed in Jiang Wang's eyes, and he nodded. Okay, let's go home together. After getting out of the car, I watched Jiang Wang leave. Just as I walked into the shop, I didn't expect to see my best friend, Chen Rao, with a pale face, desperately winking at me. I sensed something was wrong and immediately wanted to leave, but as soon as I turned around, I saw Shinku. He was still dressed in a suit and looked meticulous. He was holding a bouquet of roses in his arms. A tall and slender man holding flowers usually presents a gentle image, but at this moment, his face was very solemn, and there was a strong anger in his eyes. No wonder I couldn't find any trace of you these days. So you've been with Jiang Wang. He strode over, and his sharp gaze swept over my face, which still had a happy blush, my neck with hickeys, and my lips that were still red and swollen from the kiss. The emotions in his dark eyes gradually turned crazy, and he said through gritted teeth, "No wonder you left without any warning. It turns out you had already hooked up with him, when you— How long have you been wearing this fucking green hat on me?" I also got angry. Watch your mouth before you speak. Is the upbringing of your Shin family to wrongly accuse people without evidence? Cut the crap. Shinku stuffed the bouquet of flowers into my arms and then tightly grabbed my wrist. "I admit that I've neglected you all this time. I apologize to you. Stop making a fuss. I'll pretend that nothing happened between you and Jiang Wang. Come back with me, and our wedding will be held as scheduled." I was a bit surprised. He had clearly seen how I was with Jiang Wang. How could Shinku, who was so arrogant, still say such words as asking me to go back with him? So I immediately said, "Are you out of your mind?" Outside the shop, the crowd hurrying to work was bustling. Inside the shop, Shinku and I were in a tense standoff. His body was tensed up tightly, and the hostility emanating from him was almost overwhelming, yet he forced himself to stay calm, and even a blue veins popped out on his forehead. "Under what circumstances will you come back with me?" In the past, my mood would definitely have been affected by him, but now, I was calm and there were no ripples in my emotions. I shook off his hand forcefully. "I won't go back. There's no love between us. Spending a lifetime tied together will only make both of us suffer. Isn't it better for me to leave early and set you free?" My words were like a thorn. Shinku was instantly enraged, and he raised his voice. "Who said there's no love? We clearly—" He suddenly stopped and looked at me in a daze. He finally realized. He realized that during the years we were together, he had never treated me well. I lowered my eyes and looked at the bouquet of roses in my arms, and said sarcastically, "Do you know? I've never liked roses. They were bright red, vivid, and very beautiful, but I've always disliked such intensity. I prefer the delicate and elegant lisianthus. This kind of rose is liked by other girls, and Sunanan also likes it, but I don't like it." I raised my hand and threw the bouquet of flowers into the trash can beside me. Shinku was stunned. His gaze fell on my hand. "The ring? Where's your ring?" He suddenly became agitated again and forcefully pulled my hand. "Where's the ring? Where did the ring go?" Chen Rao was startled by his sudden shout and quickly ran over again. "Don't cause a scene in my shop. Let go of Xiaoyu. Get out of the way. It has nothing to do with you." Chen Rao was pushed aside by him and hit the table. I was worried about her and wanted to check on her condition, but Shinku held my hand tightly and wouldn't let go. "That's our wedding ring. Why aren't you wearing it?" "Screw the wedding. Who wants to marry you, when you— Don't call me. I feel disgusted when you call my name." I was also furious. Even if it meant my wrist might break, I still tried to break free, but Shinku let go of my hand the next moment. He looked behind me. Is it because of him? I turned around and saw Jiang Wang striding towards me. Chen Rao was clutching her waist beside me, grimacing in pain, and she waved her phone at me. She had immediately informed Jiang Wang when she saw the situation was not good. Fortunately, Jiang Wang hadn't gone far. Many people didn't approve of my relationship with Jiang Wang, but Chen Rao was one of the few who did. She said she just wanted to see me happy. As soon as I saw Jiang Wang, the anger I felt towards Shinku instantly turned into grievance. I ran towards him and threw myself into his arms. Jiang Wang picked up my hand and looked at my wrist, which was a bit red from being pinched by Shinku. He looked at Shinku, and his gaze had already turned cold. "Mr. Shin is a decent person. I thought that no matter what, you wouldn't do something like taking out your anger on others." Shinku stared at me intently and sneered. "The matter between me and Wen Yu is none of your business, but this time she chose me. She would never choose a pervert like you." Shinku's attack came without warning. The next moment, his fist swung over, Jiang Wang's head tilted to the side from the punch, and a trace of blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. In an instant, my blood boiled, and I raised my hand and slapped Shinku hard. The whole space fell silent immediately. I was so angry that I was trembling. "Who I choose is my business. It's not your place to interfere." I held Jiang Wang's hand with one hand and pulled Chen Rao with the other. "Let's go. I'll take you to the hospital." I led the two of them and turned to leave without looking back, so I didn't see that Shinku stood there, looking at the bouquet of flowers I had thrown away, with a dazed and helpless expression. On the way, Chenrao insisted that she just bumped into something and it wasn't serious. Then she got out of the car and asked me to take her to find her boyfriend, on the phone with her boyfriend on the way. She exaggerated her suffering a great deal and also cursed Shinku's ancestors for 18 generations. After Chenrao got out of the car, Jiang Wang said that his injury was minor and there was no need to go to the hospital, so I bought some medicine and went home with him. When I was applying medicine to the corner of Jiang Wang's mouth, he suddenly squeezed my hand. That's when I realized that my wrist hurt and it had already swollen up. It wasn't because of Shinku's pinch. It was completely because I had used too much force when I slapped Shinku. As the force has an equal and opposite reaction, my hand also got injured. Jiang Wang sighed and took the medicine from my hand to apply it for me. Next time you hit someone, remember to wear a wrist guard. I thought about it and shook my head. No, next time I'll use a hammer. If he provokes me again, I'll smash his head. Jiang Wang then smiled and hugged me. He whispered in my ear. So this is what it feels like to be favored. Although I said that I would love him, perhaps he never really felt it until today when I unhesitatingly stood up for him in front of Shinku. He said, I'm very happy, Xiaoyu. I kissed him and said, in the future, I'll give you even more love. Jiang Wang nodded gently. I'm looking forward to it, but I still have a question. I propped myself up on my elbow and looked at him. You're clearly very good at fighting. How could you not dodge Shinku's punch? Although I'm not a professional, I've at least watched several bare-knuckle brawls, boxing matches, so I could tell that that punch was very slow and was completely that of an amateur. Jiang Wang coughed softly and didn't look at me. He punched suddenly, so I didn't dodge it. Tell me the truth. Because I took the punch on purpose. I wanted you to feel sorry for me. Huh, so crafty. I snorted and continued to apply medicine to him. Then your plan worked. I do feel sorry for you, so next time, don't do this again. After saying that, I added, next time, don't get beaten, you can only beat the other side. Jiang Wang couldn't help but laugh. Okay, I promise. Because I didn't want to be pestered by Shinku anymore, Chenrao simply closed the shop temporarily and went on a trip with her boyfriend to relax. I also didn't go around randomly. When I was free, I would go to find Jiang Wang. He was busy with work. And I didn't disturb him, I just stayed in his office. While he worked, I watched dramas beside him. Jiang Wang in the company was always meticulous, serious, and cold, and the office was always very tidy, but since I came, there were a bunch of snacks that girls liked on his clean desk, and there was also a pink backrest pillow specially for me on the chair. The whole company knew about my relationship with him. When I went to the pantry to get coffee, Jiang Wang's female assistant was also there. Her name was Xiao Kai, and she was a very gentle and quiet girl. Every time she saw me, her eyes held a very complex look. I knew how she felt. It was probably the same feeling I had when I looked at Su Nannan beside Shinku in the past. I smiled politely at her. After getting my coffee and about to go out, she suddenly summoned up the courage to stop me. Miss Wen, please don't abandon him. Without you, he will die. I stopped in my tracks and turned around. Xiao Kai's eyes were a bit red. She stared at her own toes for a moment, and then suddenly bowed and apologized to me. I'm sorry, Miss Wen, I spoke out of turn. You don't need to say sorry. I believe what you said, because what she said was true. On the eve of my wedding in my previous life, she suddenly came to find me in the heavy rain and begged me with tears in her eyes to meet Jiang Wang. At that time, I was full of disgust for Jiang Wang and stubbornly believed that this was a trick played by Jiang Wang. After saying a lot of harsh words, I drove her away, but right after my wedding, Jiang Wang really ended up in the hospital. If it wasn't for Xiao Kai desperately breaking into Jiang Wang's house and sending the unconscious Jiang Wang to the hospital, Jiang Wang would really have died. Jiang Wang was a madman. He was extreme and crazy in his bones. He was tough on others, and even tougher on himself. I couldn't imagine how desperate he must have felt when he watched me get married. You can rest assured, I said to Xiao Kai. This time, I will definitely not leave him. Xiao Kai smiled with relief, but there was still a hint of bitterness in her smile. Then she left the pantry. The next day, I saw Xiao Kai's transfer application on Jiang Wang's desk. She volunteered to go to a branch office in another city. Seeing me pick up that application, Jiang Wang said, Xiao Kai has excellent working ability. Staying here, she can have better development. I don't understand why she wants to go to the branch office. Why, of course, It was because she liked him, but couldn't be with him, so she wanted to stay away from him. But I didn't say this, I just said, she's a very nice person, I hope she can have a better future. I had thought that since I had already had a falling out with Shinku and wasn't seeing him anymore, he should have given up, but I was wrong. Shinku was almost going crazy. He crazily suppressed Jiang Wang in the business world and maliciously snatched several projects from Jiang Wang. But Jiang Wang never told me about these things. If I hadn't accidentally heard the company employees talking about it, I wouldn't have known anything at all. It wasn't easy for Jiang Wang to establish his company. I knew how important this company was to him. Shinku's actions were really despicable. A strange phone call suddenly came in. As soon as I answered it, I heard Shinku's voice. When Jiang Wang is going to be finished, do you still want to stay with him? I was very angry. Shinku, you were just a scumbag in my heart originally, and now you can add the label of a despicable person. Is that how you think of me, aren't you? Shinku was silent for a moment before saying, I'm right downstairs of Jiang Wang's company. Come out, and I'll explain it to you. I actually wanted to hear how he was going to explain it. Just as I was about to rush out, I suddenly turned back and went to Jiang Wang's office. Jiang Wang was looking at some documents. When he heard the sound of the door opening, he looked up. The moment before, his eyes were indifferent, but the moment he saw me, they were filled with tenderness and warmth. What's wrong? You're running so urgently. I opened my arms and threw myself into his arms. He smiled and caught me, allowing me to sit on his lap and twist restlessly back and forth. Dear boyfriend, my unlucky ex-boyfriend is here and says he wants to explain to me about snatching your projects. I'm going to listen. Is that okay? Jiang Wang held my waist and tilted his head to think for a while. From the perspective of a boyfriend, I don't want you to go, but I know he won't give up, if he doesn't see you this time. There will definitely be a next time, then I'll go downstairs and listen to what he has to say. After he's done speaking, I'll come back. I want to have lunch with you. Okay, sure. With his approval, I got up and went downstairs. Shinku was standing leaning against the railing. There were wrinkles on his suit, his hair was a bit messy, and there were a lot of bloodshot eyes. This was the first time I had seen him in such a sorry state. I walked up to him. All right, go ahead and say it. He stared at me for a while before saying, Jiang Wang is nothing more than an upstart. Without these projects, his company won't last long. Do you really want to spend your whole life with a poor guy like him? I really shouldn't have come down. I shouldn't have believed that anything normal would come out of this dead man's mouth. If that's all you want to say, then you should go back. I turned to leave, but he grabbed me. I don't believe that you really want to be with him. You clearly hated him the most before. I don't believe that you really have no feelings for me anymore. With a tug, I was pulled into his arms. He slightly lowered his head, seemingly wanting to kiss me. The sudden feeling of my hair standing on end left me no time to think. I directly raised my hand and pushed him hard. I used so much force that Shinku stumbled and almost fell down. When I turned around, I saw Jiang Wang not far away. I suddenly understood that Shinku had seen Jiang Wang just now, so he made that move. He just wanted Jiang Wang to see me in an intimate situation with him, but he didn't expect my reaction to be so resolute. Shinku's expression was very ugly. There was a strong sense of unwillingness in his eyes. I didn't look at him anymore and directly ran towards Jiang Wang. Jiang Wang welcomed me, and there was a barely noticeable trace of darkness in his gaze as he looked at Shinku. After returning to the office, I sat beside Jiang Wang. I didn't expect that I would bring you so much trouble. This isn't any trouble. Jiang Wang smiled and looked at me. The biggest trouble for me is if you don't want me anymore. I will never not want you. I looked at him seriously. When you will be tied to you for the rest of my life. That day when we got home, Jiang Wang and I went crazy again. As soon as we reached the entrance hall, we couldn't wait anymore. He picked me up directly, and my back was against the wall. My arms could only feebly wrap around his neck. During a break in the kiss, Jiang Wang panted softly and said, Xiaoyu, you have no idea how happy I am. Before I could respond, I was carried to the bed by him again. When the frenzy came, I couldn't help but grasp the quilt, but my hand was held by someone else, his fingers interlaced with mine, and every single one of them intertwined with mine until I fell into a deep sleep. When I woke up, Jiang Wang was hugging me tightly. I felt it was too hot and pushed him. You, give me some space. Jiang Wang's eyelashes trembled in a half-asleep and half-awake state, and he pulled me back just as I was about to escape. No, you're being unreasonable. I'm just being unreasonable. After getting along for a long time, I realized that this man was actually quite naughty. I could only sigh and lie back down. What else could I do since I chose him, of course? I had to spoil him. During the day, Jiang Wang went to the company first. I made some preparations and rushed over before evening came. I brought a bouquet of flowers. They were midnight tulips, a mysterious and elegant dark blue, which was also Jiang Wang's favorite color. When I walked into the company, everyone was very surprised. A group of people watched me walk into Jiang Wang's office. I hid the bouquet of flowers behind my back and walked in, standing in front of Jiang Wang. Jiang Wang put down his work and smiled at me. "What are you hiding?" "Guess." "I can't guess." With a clang, I took out the flowers. "This is for you. Do you like it?" Jiang Wang was a bit surprised. He took the bouquet of flowers, and a fine layer of joy spread in his eyes. He gently stroked the petals of one of the tulips with great care. "Why did you suddenly think of giving me flowers?" "Because I like you, so I want to give you beautiful things. Most of the time, flowers are given to women. But men also need romance and surprises. Unfortunately, many people overlook this now." Jiang Wang's hand that was gently stroking the flowers suddenly paused, then he took out a small box. "What's this?" I jumped over and opened the small box. The next moment, two dazzling rings came into his sight, the sparkling diamond rings and his sparkling eyes. I smiled and asked him, "Do you like this surprise?" Outside the office, there were whispers from the employees with a bit of gossip. The evening sunlight was shining in, casting on Jiang Wang. He looked at the rings for a long time before looking up at me, with strong emotions flowing in his eyes. "Yes, I do." His voice was hoarse and trembled a bit. I couldn't help but choke up a bit too. "Then, Mr. Jiang, would you like to marry me?" Just like the language of the flowers, of this bouquet, a confession of love, I was proposing to him. Jiang Wang's fingers trembled as he picked up one of the rings and put it on. Then he picked up the other one and put it on my finger. It wasn't loose and ill-fitting like the ring I had worn before. These two rings were custom-made by me personally, and the sizes were just right. When I looked up, I saw the corners of Jiang Wang's eyes were red. He held my hand and said softly, "I'm truly fortunate." I sniffled and asked him, "When shall we go to the Civil Affairs Bureau?" "Right now." When we were preparing for the wedding, it was already approaching the spring festival. My family called me for I don't know how many times. This time, they softened their tone and asked me to go back and have a meal with the family. I thought about it over and over again, and finally, persuaded by Jiang Wang, I went back once, but I didn't expect it to be a feast with hidden intentions. As soon as I entered the restaurant, I saw Shenku at the dining table. My originally fairly good mood disappeared instantly. My father had always treated Shenku with a bit of flattery. And so did my mother. My younger brother was very straightforward and asked me to sit next to Shenku. He also said, "Sister, look, your husband has lost so much weight because of you. Why don't you pick more dishes for him to make up for it?" Shenku didn't say a word and just looked at me quietly. I directly spread my hand on the dining table. The ring on my middle finger sparkled. My younger brother directly praised, "Ah, brother-in-law, the ring you prepared for my sister is so beautiful. When did you two make up? Why didn't you inform me? Have you set the date for the wedding? When are you going to?" Before he could finish his words, Shenku suddenly stood up. One moment he was still maintaining his demeanor, but at this moment, he could no longer keep it. "How can you wear someone else's ring?" His voice was extremely hoarse, his shoulders and neck were tense, and his knuckles gripping the back of the chair turned white from the force. Every part of him revealed his hidden embarrassment. "How could you?" "Of course I can." I took out the marriage certificate from my bag and placed it on the table. The whole room fell silent. Shenku stared fixedly at those two certificates without moving, looking as if he was stunned. My father and mother turned pale. Presumably, the shock was too great, and my father couldn't pretend anymore. He rushed over and slapped me. How could you marry someone else? What will happen to our Wen family in the future?" I covered my painful face and tasted the smell of blood in my mouth. I couldn't help but sneer. "What? Your daughter, can't be sold to the buyer you want anymore, and you can no longer rely on the Shen family's influence. Is that so hard to accept?" They were speechless for a moment and mumbled as they looked at Shenku, but Shenku didn't look at them at all. He slowly moved his gaze from the marriage certificate to my face. "Did you really choose him?" I said, "Yes." After saying that, I looked at the people around me and sneered sarcastically. "This family dinner is really terrible." I picked up my bag and left. It was already dark outside, the snowflakes were falling thick and fast. I was covering my still painful face and hadn't walked a few steps when suddenly someone chased after me from behind. It was Shinku. He firmly grabbed one of my hands, bent his back, and all his pride disappeared at this moment, leaving only humility and pleading. What on earth do you want me to do for you to come back? I can change everything, all of it, I will. Stop talking, Shinku, stop being obsessed with me. You should have a good life with Sunanan now. Shinku's face looked very ugly. What are you talking about? I have nothing to do with her at all. Is that so? I took out my phone and showed him Sunanan's moments. I scrolled from the first post, because I said I was cold. Mr. Shin took the initiative to put his coat on me. Mr. Shin is so gentle. Mr. Shin actually took me to Barcelona. It's so beautiful. I like it so much. I like Barcelona. And I also like, thank you, Mr. Shin, for the necklace you gave me. I like it very much. It's my birthday today, and Mr. Shin accompanied me the whole day. I'm really so happy. And the most recent one, my hand was cut by a knife. It hurts so much, but fortunately, with his company, even the pain is a kind of happiness. The more Shinku looked, the more dazed his expression became. No, I didn't do these things. I didn't do them at all. Still refusing to admit it. I calculated the time and compared it with my previous life's experiences. I sneered sarcastically at Shinku. What about the child in Sunanan's belly? Is that not yours either? Shinku's face suddenly turned deathly pale. You know about that, but I didn't do it on purpose. I was drunk, so you don't need to explain it to me. I was too lazy to care about his love affair. You just need to know that the way you ignored me all those years was real. Your infidelity was real, and it's also true that I don't love you at all anymore. After saying that, it was time for me to go home. I turned around and left. Shinku was about to continue chasing, but he was suddenly punched hard by Jiang Wang, who appeared out of nowhere. Jiang Wang's punch was much heavier than Shinku's before. With one punch, Shinku fell onto the snowy ground and couldn't get up for a long time. Jiang Wang's voice was even colder than the wind and snow. Stop pestering my lover. If there's a next time, I can't guarantee what I'll do. Jiang Wang had come to pick me up, after hitting Shinku. He regained his gentle expression and even warmed my hands for me. Are you cold? No, let's go home. Okay, I prepared milk tea for you in the car. Really, Jiang Wang was always so considerate. My bad mood disappeared instantly, and I couldn't help but hug him. What flavor is it? Flat white, your favorite. Wow, as expected, only you understand me best. I was just feeling happy when suddenly an unwilling voice came from behind me. Do you know that he's secretly kept many of your personal belongings since school? He's a pervert. Are you sure you want to be with him? Jiang Wang's face turned pale, and he looked at me with a hint of panic, but I just smiled. So what? I'll still choose him. In Shinku's disbelieving gaze, I took Jiang Wang's arm and pulled him forward affectionately. Come on, darling, let's go home. I can freely enter, look around, and rummage through anywhere in Jiang Wang's house. There is only one room that is always locked. Jiang Wang is very secretive about the things in that room. Whenever I ask, he just presses his lips together and doesn't reply. But actually, I know what's in there. In my previous life, after he died, I opened that room and saw everything inside. Jiang Wang didn't say a word on the way home. It wasn't until we entered the house that he said a bit nervously, Xiaoyu, aren't you going to ask me? I just smiled at him. Everyone has secrets. If you don't tell me, it means you're not ready yet. Then I'll just wait until you are. So there's nothing to ask. Jiang Wang lowered his eyes for a moment, then came over and took my hand. Come with me. He took me and opened the door of that room together. The first thing I saw was that the inside of the cabinet was covered with photos. The earliest photos were secretly taken when I was in high school. 10 years have passed since then, but they are still well preserved, only slightly yellowed. There are photos of me running, drinking water, dozing off, reading in the library, doing exercises, from my high school days, through my university years, and after graduation, all the way until before I officially got together with Shinku. Each photo is placed in an exquisite glass frame and hung neatly on the wall, and there are many, many items that once belonged to me. The broken hair tie I used to wear, the broken pendant that was originally hung on my school bag, the earring I accidentally dropped while running, the bracelet that I threw away after it broke, the teddy bear doll that I discarded because it got dirty, and a pack of open sanitary pads. That's when I remembered something. I suddenly got my period during a high school PE class. I had such severe menstrual pain that I was sweating coldly. Shinku asked me about it and then left. I rushed to the restroom in a hurry. I didn't have any sanitary pads at that time. And I was so worried that I didn't know what to do. Suddenly, someone threw a pad in from outside, which solved my crisis. When I got back to the classroom, there was a cup of brewed ginger tea on my desk. I always thought that Shinku had done this, but I didn't expect that the person who helped me was actually Jiang Wang. The memories seemed like they were just yesterday. Jiang Wang watched as I stroked those items that he had treasured for years one by one, and he slowly lowered his eyes. He said softly, "Shinku is right. I am a pervert. My secret love for you is sick and dark. I'm like a maggot in the corner, cautiously and greedily peeking at you. I clearly know that you only feel disgust for me, but I still delusionally hope for your pity countless times." I couldn't listen anymore. So I turned around and kissed him. "But I like you like this. Whether you're sick, paranoid, or crazy, it's all because you love me. From the time we first met 10 years ago to now, 10 years have passed, and many things can change, but only your feelings for me have always been deep and lasting. This feeling is more precious than anything else." Jiang Wang's long eyelashes trembled slightly. "Then this room, don't you blame me?" "Of course not." I smiled and coaxed him. "Not only will I not blame you, but we will also keep filling it up in the future." As I was speaking, I took off the silk scarf around my neck and tied it around the neck of the teddy bear that had been washed clean. "Now, it's a witness to our love." When I looked up, I met Jiang Wang's dark eyes. Inside them, there was nothing but deep affection and tenderness that went straight to the bone. He pulled me into his arms. "I must have used up all my luck in this life to meet you. Then I must have used up the luck of my next life as well to have the chance to see you again. My Jiang Wang." He never knew. It's such a simple thing to fall in love with him after getting to know him. That night, we were more passionate than ever before. This time, I took the initiative instead of being passive. I was on top, swaying my waist while raising my hand to trace his eyebrows and eyes. I've always thought that Jiang Wang is very contradictory. He is reserved yet passionate, like a fire ignited on an ice field, burning and dazzling, but somehow making people unable to resist getting closer. Jiang Wang panted and asked me, "What are you looking at?" I leaned down and kissed him. "I'm looking at that mole at the corner of your eye. It's seducing me." Jiang Wang then smiled and hugged me. "Did it succeed in seducing you?" "Yes, it did. For the rest of my life, it and its owner belonged to me." Shinku was crazy and determined to completely crush Jiang Wang. But he forgot that Jiang Wang has always been crazier than him. Shinku, stepping on the shoulders of his elders, easily obtained everything, while Jiang Wang had to overcome countless difficulties and climb to this height step by step. There's no need to say who has more outstanding abilities. The new projects filled the gaps left by the snatched old projects, and Jiang Wang also poached several veteran employees who were dissatisfied with Shinku. Shinku made successive mistakes in his anger and impatience, and the stock price of the Shin Corporation kept falling. Now Jiang Wang has the upper hand. Shinku came to find me a few more times, but I didn't see him again. I focused all my attention on staying by Jiang Wang's side and being lovey-dovey with him day and night. We stick together at home, we stick together even more in the company. As a result, the employees of his company secretly opened a post on the forum and kept complaining about us showing affection every day. The post has been stacked with more than 2,000 layers. It's really amazing. After a while, I went to the coffee shop again. Chen Rao came back from her trip and was in a good mood. She gossiped with me and talked about Shinku. She said that Shinku drove Sunan away in front of many people in the company. Sunan kept crying and even knelt down for him, but Shinku remained unmoved and left without hesitation. I was a bit puzzled. What happened to Sunan? Why did she fall out of favor? Actually, that Sunan never really managed to take the place of the mistress at all. Chen Rao glanced at my phone. I specifically made careful inquiries. What Sunan posts seriously in her moments are all about work. Those sweet daily moments were probably only visible to you. She was just putting on an act to drive you away. Later, I guess she realized that without you, she couldn't become Mrs. Shin either. So she took a risky move and drugged Shinku during his business dinner. They slept together for one night, and she wanted to use the pregnancy to secure her position, but Shinku hated her so much that he insisted on dragging her to the hospital to have the baby aborted. Tisk tsk. She tried to steal a chicken but ended up losing a handful of rice. I was stunned for a while after hearing this, but I quickly stopped thinking about it. Even if Shinku didn't really betray me, his neglect and alienation towards me were real. He didn't deserve my love. And the person who deserves my love is right by my side now. After my parents completely lost the support of the Shin family, they started looking for other powerful allies. They used to look down on Jiang Wang, but now they have to flatter him. I scoffed at this. Jiang Wang clearly felt that disdain and contempt the most, but because of me, he still left some dignity for my parents. He has always been polite and occasionally gives away some of the resources in his hands. I wasn't very happy about this. Jiang Wang then coaxed me. After all, they are still your parents, they brought you into this world, and just for this, it's enough for me to be grateful to them. I mocked him. You're crazy. Jiang Wang then directly picked me up horizontally and walked towards the bedroom. He was quite justified. But you just like this crazy me. Fine, you're right because you're strong and you have the right to speak. Because I'm so happy now. I rarely think about the misfortunes of my previous life, until I was drugged and stuffed into a car just like in my previous life. When I woke up, what I saw was a damp and dark place. It turned out to be that warehouse. It was at a completely different time node from my previous life, but it was the same place. The effect of the drug hadn't worn off yet. I was lying on the ground, feeling weak all over, and my heart was filled with tension. How could this be? Clearly, I had already left Shinku. Why was I tied up here again? 2 male kidnappers were standing not far from me. They were exactly the same 2 who kidnapped me in my previous life. Just as I was full of doubts, a woman came out from behind them. I widened my eyes. Sunanan, it's actually you. Sunanan no longer had her previous charming appearance. At this moment, she looked haggard and her expression was ferocious as she stared at me viciously. Don't blame me, who asked you to keep lingering around? I finally managed to drive you away, but Shinku's heart still only has you in it. I used all my means to get pregnant with his child. I thought that with this child, he would accept me, but he actually cruelly dragged me to have the baby aborted. I'm in this situation now all because of you. It's all because of you. Listening to her shrill roar, for a moment, I seemed to be back in my previous life, when I was tied up in the car in my previous life. In a daze, I seemed to hear someone talking to the kidnappers. Clearly, Shinku doesn't love her, yet she still insists on occupying the position of Mrs. Shin. Only when she's gone can I marry Shinku as I wish. At that time, I was only focused on being nervous and scared and didn't pay attention to these words at all. Now, these words slowly overlapped with the current scene, so that's how it was. In both my previous life and this life, the person who harmed me was her. Sunanan hated me even more than in my previous life. She walked towards me step by step, and her high heels made a dull sound on the cement floor. When she reached in front of me, she grabbed my hair forcefully. I didn't want to be this cruel to you, but you're so annoying, so you can just die. Go to hell. I grabbed her hand and bit it hard. It wasn't just that she hated me, I also hated her. The hatred of 2 lifetimes combined made me but let go. Sunanan was enraged by me. With her other hand, she grabbed my head and slammed it hard on the ground. In the intense pain, I was forced to let go. The angry Sunanan kicked me hard. How dare you bite me? I'll make you die in the most painful way. The successive heavy blows made me dizzy. My vision flickered between light and dark, and my consciousness was briefly blurred. I completely lost my ability to move. I could only watch helplessly as Sunanan walked over to the 2 kidnappers and said something. Then the kidnappers flew into a rage. What did you say? I kidnapped her because you said you'd give us money. You don't have the money. So what do you want us for, you bitch? Are you playing us? You can ask Shinku for it. The 2 kidnappers looked at each other, and a fierce light appeared in their eyes. My heart tightened. Oh no, just like in my previous life, they were going to kill to silence me. One of the kidnappers kicked hard, and Sunanan immediately let out a scream and fell backward. No matter how much I resisted, my seriously injured body couldn't hold up at this moment. My vision gradually blurred and finally went dark. I woke up because of the heat. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw the flames gradually rising around me. They actually set the place on fire. Sunanan was lying not far from me, still unconscious. The thick smoke was billowing, and the heat was unbearable. I dragged my weak body and crawled hardly towards the door. Although the door was also closed, there was no other exit in this warehouse except the door. The fire was too hot, and the smoke was too choking. I hadn't crawled far when I coughed violently and collapsed. Suddenly, I heard a shout getting closer and closer. Xiaoyu, it was Jiang Wang. There was a sound at the door, and then it was opened from the outside. Bright sunlight shone in. The moment Jiang Wang saw me, a look of joy appeared on his face. Ignoring the scorching flames, he rushed in and hugged me tightly in his arms. his heart was beating very fast. His body was shaking violently, and his voice was hoarse and terrifying. Fortunately, I made it in time. I was extremely anxious, afraid that everything from my previous life would repeat itself. The kidnappers, they must be around. Be careful. I know. I arranged for people in advance. The kidnappers have been controlled, and the police are on their way. I was stunned for a moment. How did Jiang Wang know all this? I was weak all over, so Jiang Wang simply picked me up. Just as he was about to take me away, suddenly he looked behind me, his pupils shrank, and he instinctively pushed me away, so I watched in horror as the awakened Sunanan rushed over and, screaming, pushed over a nearby shelf. Jiang Wang, who couldn't dodge in time after pushing me away, was pinned down firmly underneath it. The blood in my body instantly turned cold, and I shouted hoarsely, Jiang Wang. I struggled to get up and pushed Sunanan to the ground with all my strength. How dare you hurt my man? I'll skin you alive. Sunanan was also beaten up and couldn't get up for a while. I ignored her and rushed towards Jiang Wang. Looking at the bleeding wound on Jiang Wang's head, tears welled up in my eyes involuntarily. I wanted to move the shelf on Jiang Wang's back away, but as soon as my hand touched the iron frame, Jiang Wang grabbed my hand. Don't touch it, it's very hot and will scald you. Only then did I notice that the steel frames had turned red from the fire. I suddenly burst into tears. It's so hot. Does it hurt? Don't worry about me. I'm wearing a bulletproof vest that's also stab-proof and fireproof. Jiang Wang pushed me, his tone anxious. My people are nearby, and the police should be here soon. Don't worry about me. Get out first. No, don't you try to push me away again. Gritting my teeth, I raised my hand to hold the steel frame and tried my best to lift it up. Jiang Wang, I want to go home with you. Seeing this, Jiang Wang didn't say anything more. He propped up his injured body and also tried his best to crawl out. I don't know how long it took, maybe a few seconds, maybe a few minutes, or maybe even longer, until my vision started to flicker between light and dark. Suddenly Jiang Wang hugged me. He had crawled out. There were several places on his arm where the clothes had been burned through, revealing the burned flesh underneath, but his eyes were only on me. Xiaoyu, don't fall asleep, let's go home together. I nodded with difficulty, gritted my teeth, and was supported by Jiang Wang as we walked step by step towards the exit. There were many times in the middle when I could hardly hold on, but he was always there to support me, whether in my previous life or this life. He would always come to save me from danger. He was always by my side, just like how the dawn always comes after a long night. Suddenly, a weak and frightened shout came from behind. Don't go, don't go. Save me, cough cough, save me. It was Sunanan. Her leg was injured when she fell, and now she couldn't walk at all. The fire around her was getting bigger and bigger, and she could only shout desperately for us to save her, but neither Jiang Wang nor I looked back. I even cursed through gritted teeth. Just wait for your retribution, you bitch. In the end, this accident ended with Jiang Wang and me suffering minor injuries, Sunanan suffering serious injuries, and the two kidnappers being arrested. It's quite a pity to think about it. At that time, Sunanan crawled forward with her two immobile legs, but there was fire all around her, and the shelf that she pushed towards me blocked the only path without fire. She was trapped in a desperate situation by the evil she had done. When the firefighters rescued her, she was on fire, her beautiful face was ruined, and one of her legs was so badly burned that it had to be amputated. At that time, I was being fed an apple by Jiang Wang. The injury on my head was relatively severe, and it was wrapped in several layers of bandages. My two hands were also wrapped up like Zongzi. Jiang Wang's head injury was very minor, and there were some burns on his arm. Fortunately, it wasn't very serious, and he could still move freely. So he volunteered to take care of me. Shinku also came during this time. I didn't want to talk to him, and surprisingly, he remained silent as well. It wasn't until he was about to leave that he took the initiative to speak. He was apologizing to me. After your parents came to my house back then, my father asked me to marry you. I stubbornly thought that your family was making you approach me because of self-interest. I didn't want this arranged marriage, so I deliberately distanced myself from you and ignored you. I clearly knew that all of this was arranged by the elders and had nothing to do with you, but I still couldn't help taking my anger out on you. I took advantage of your love for me, so I vented all my negative emotions on you. I was sure that you wouldn't leave me, but it wasn't until you really left that I realized how important you were to me. The one who couldn't bear to part with this relationship was always just me. It's a pity that I only realized this after losing you. Shinku suddenly couldn't continue, there was a hint of a choked sob in his voice. I'm sorry. When he left, Jiang Wang was walking in with a cup of freshly poured hot water. Shinke said to him, in terms of loving her, I'm indeed not as good as you, Yuan. After saying that, Shinke left. Jiang Wang didn't bother to pay attention to what he said. His eyes were only on me. I fell into a coma soon after escaping from the warehouse that day. The first thing I said when I woke up and saw Jiang Wang was to ask him when he remembered. Yes, Jiang Wang had also been reborn. On the day I was kidnapped, he quickly reacted, called the police in advance, made arrangements for people, and put on a stab-proof and fire-proof bulletproof vest. It was clear that he had experienced it before to make so many preparations. Jiang Wang directly admitted it, not long after you came to me. I had a dream. Tears suddenly fell. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't think it was necessary. He leaned down and kissed my face, full of love and care. What happened in the previous life doesn't matter. What matters is this life, and what matters is that you love me. I cried uncontrollably. Jiang Wang coaxed me for a long time that day. Now everything is clear, and there are no more secrets between Jiang Wang and me. When I saw him again, I hung my head with a dejected look and raised my 2 hands wrapped like Zongzi. When on earth can I be discharged from the hospital? I'm so bored. While feeding me an apple, Jiang Wang said, be good, wait a few more days. But I really miss your 8-pack abs and want to touch them so much. Wait until you're better before touching them. I can't even do anything these days. After I'm discharged from the hospital, I'll definitely make you do it with me for 3 days and 3 nights. Jiang Wang quickly blushed and covered my mouth, but he was still too late. Chen Rao, who came to visit me, had just stepped through the threshold when she heard me say such bold words. Chen Rao. She walked in and silently put down the bouquet of flowers and the fruit basket, staring straight at Jiang Wang and me. Her gaze made me feel uneasy. What are you looking at? Under the lemon tree. There are lemon fruits, under the lemon tree. It's you and me. My life motto from now on is to be the brightest light bulb and eat the best dog food. Show off. You too. Keep showing off. 3 days after I was discharged from the hospital, Sunanan jumped off a building. She was severely burned and had a hard time getting out of bed. I don't know how she managed to climb onto the windowsill. When I heard this news, I felt a bit emotional. In my previous life, I committed suicide in despair. And in this life, it was her turn. Heaven is indeed fair. That night, I had a very chaotic dream. I was walking on my way home from school. Suddenly, I looked back and saw a thin and slender teenager following me from a distance. When he saw me turn around, he instinctively stopped in his tracks, looking a bit at a loss. I reached out my hand to him. Why are you so far away? Are you a stalker? Come here quickly. The teenager's eyes lit up, and he ran towards me. The setting sun traced 2 long shadows at our feet, on the university campus. A senior was shouting his confession to me downstairs in my dormitory. I went downstairs amidst the cheers and whistles of the crowd and told him loudly, sorry, I already have a boyfriend. The senior looked embarrassed. A tall and straight guy pushed through the crowd and came up to me, speaking to the senior in a displeased tone. Sorry, my girlfriend has no intention of changing her boyfriend at the moment. I pouted and added beside him, that's not right. It's not just that she has no intention of doing so at the moment, she will never have that intention in her whole life. The crowd immediately started cheering and whistling for the 2 of us. The guy beside me blushed slightly. I opened a coffee shop. There were few customers in the afternoon. The sunlight shining through the window was warm, making me feel drowsy as I lay on the table. Suddenly, a familiar and warm breath came from beside me. Something warm and soft gently landed on my lips. Don't sleep anymore. If you sleep now, you won't be able to fall asleep at night. I didn't open my eyes. I directly groped and hugged the person's waist, humming in his arms with my eyes closed. If I can't fall asleep, then I can't. If I can't fall asleep, I'll just sleep with you. The person then started to panic. This is the shop. There are no customers anyway. Even if there are customers, it doesn't matter. I'm even giving them dog food for free. The scenes in the dream kept changing. In the blink of an eye, it was a lifetime. I opened my eyes. A hand reached out beside me and gently touched the corner of my eye. What dream did you have? Why are you crying? I turned over and buried myself in Jiang Wang's arms. I wish I had been reborn at an even earlier time node. Then I could have accepted you earlier and not let you go through so much sadness and pain. Jiang Wang was stunned for a moment, and then he smiled and kissed me. Meeting you is already a very happy thing. There's no pain at all. This person has always been like this, so good that it makes me feel sorry for him. I looked up and kissed him. feeling his body temperature gradually rise and his breathing become disordered during our intimacy. Then, Mr. Jiang, who is so happy, shall we do it? Jiang Wang's soft laughter was drowned out by our lips and teeth. Okay, let's do it. The past is just the past, and our future still has a long way to go. Extra chapter. Jiang Wang and I had a quarrel. The reason for the quarrel was that I had gone crazy having fun with Chen Rao. We went to a bar together, and then Chen Rao, in high spirits, ordered several male models. The male model brothers all had broad shoulders, narrow waists, long legs, big chests, six-pack abs, and perky butts, which made us dazzled. Just as Chen Rao and I couldn't help but want to touch them, our respective boyfriends came over with cold faces. Chen Rao looked as if the sky had fallen. I was also carried away silently by Jiang Wang and thrown into the car. On the way home, I sobered up completely. Looking at Jiang Wang's expression, I carefully coaxed him. This really can't be blamed on me. I didn't order those male models. It was Chen Rao. It was all Chen Rao who ordered them. It has nothing to do with me at all. Jiang Wang glanced at me. Is that so? But just now Chen Rao said that you ordered them. Me, Chen Rao, you set me up. Seeing that Jiang Wang's expression was getting worse and worse, obviously very angry, I started to use my trump card. Acting coquettishly, I used a sweet voice and wriggled around beside him. Dear husband, I know I was wrong, don't be angry anymore. Jiang Wang has always been more receptive to softness than toughness. His ears were visibly red, but he still didn't say a word. Oh, he's really angry this time, so I took out my ultimate weapon. I started speaking freely and making risque remarks in the car. Brother, I miss you, but what I miss is not quite right. My mind is full of mosaics now. Brother, can I put my hand inside your clothes? I don't mean anything else. I just want to see if you have a big heart. I'm a bit hungry, tonight. I only want to eat one dish, which is to take advantage of you. As long as you don't get tired, brother, I can do any position. I was getting more and more excited as I spoke, while Jiang Wang's face was getting redder and redder, and his breathing was getting faster and faster. Finally, he gritted his teeth and couldn't bear it anymore. Just wait until we get home. So, it usually took half an hour to drive home, but today we arrived in 15 minutes. As soon as we got out of the car, he picked me up. We were affectionate all the way until he threw me onto the bed and grabbed my hand to touch his abs. If you want to touch, you can only touch mine. Oh, he's still jealous. I simply wrapped my legs around his waist to tease him. Invited by me, Jiang Wang was already at the point of no return, but at this moment, I silently put a pregnancy test sheet in front of him. Jiang Wang was immediately stunned. Seryu, are you pregnant? Yeah, 2 months already, then you still. Jiang Wang's expression at this moment was extremely interesting, a rare sight. Joy came first, followed by anger. The strength of his arms holding me instantly lessened, but the kiss that followed could only be described as fierce. When he really couldn't bear it anymore, he let go of me and ran to the bathroom. The sound of rushing water came from the bathroom. I laughed heartily outside the bathroom door. After a while, Jiang Wang came out with a damp mist on his body and let out a sigh. You did it on purpose. I did it on purpose. Who asked you to lose your temper with me just now? That night, until I fell asleep, Jiang Wang's warm palm was placed on my belly. Xiaoyu, can I be a good father? I softened my voice and placed my hand on his. You are a very, very good husband, so naturally you will also be a very, very good father. Thank you, Xiaoyu. I'm very happy in this life. I looked up and kissed him. So am I. There is no standard answer for happiness. But fortunately, I finally found the answer.